Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television, a few other things here and there. And joining me on this fine Monday is the very fine Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Well, John, I am doing great. I'm still pondering the premiere of Watchmen.
Oh, yeah, I didn't watch that last night. I did not get around to watching that last night. It was, that's a common thing I'm hearing, is that it's interesting. Also joining us right now is Chris Carr. Speaking of interesting, Chris, how are you doing?
I'm so good. I got to see Patton Oswalt do stand-up last night. I was 15 feet away from him.
I got a notification. It was either the Comedy Store or it was Comedy Store. I got a notification from Comedy Store last night saying Patton Oswalt was performing last night, and I almost went.
It was so good. It was a benefit for UNICEF, too, so all the money went directly to UNICEF.
I love that dude. I think he's great. Anyway, guys, speaking of great, you're great. And we're so glad that you guys are here to join us today. Listen, we got a lot of main things to talk about here today. What can we expect from this Star Wars Episode 9 trailer that's dropping tonight? We've got our first reactions for The Mandalorian. Francis Ford Coppola has said some completely non-inflammatory things. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. But before we do, let's go right off the top with this. We've all known for some time, although I even forgot a while ago. Somebody brought up Bloodshot a while ago, and I was like, I don't even know if they're still going to make that. Campea, they actually are wrapped filming it. Well, there you go. This flown so under my radar is, of course, the new Vin Diesel comic book-based property, Bloodshot. Well, I didn't know a new trailer was coming imminently, but a new trailer has dropped for Bloodshot, and I got to tell you, not interested. And I'm a big Vin Diesel fan, so I am predisposed to liking this. I will say this. The visual techniques they decided to use for exhibiting his quote-unquote powers, the way they visually represented the nanotech and all that kind of stuff, visually, very interesting. I thought that was really cool. And of course, this shot right here, as his face starts to get blown off and then starts to come back together. But even the way when they did the little shot like of cutting his hand and they're stitching together, I thought visually that was pretty damn interesting. I thought that was very interesting. Also, the basic premise has always been interesting. The idea that, you know, he remembers who his wife's killer is and he breaks out of his facility to go kill them, not knowing that was all set up. They want him to break out of the facility and go kill the guy, and it's their targets and blah, blah, blah. Now, as I'm watching this trailer, I'm thinking, like probably many of you did, I see a lot of similarities between this and a lot of other movies we've seen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine, as long as you can still get my blood pumping. And I got to say right now, it's not there, despite the fact that they've somehow got Marvel to give them the rights to Doc Ock. That's great, because that was Doc Ock, right? That was Doc Ock? Anyway, look, we always say it, the job of a trailer is to take your expectation levels, your excitement level, no matter how high or low it is, and bump it up a couple notches. I come with a pre-established little bit of excitement just because Vin Diesel's in it. But this trailer didn't bump it up anymore. I just got to say, it didn't do anything to bump it up anymore for me. However, it is just a first trailer. A lot of these times, these first trailers now are just meant to be a little bit of introductions. Hello, my name is Bloodshot. I'm a movie that's coming to your theater sometime soon. And then later on, you go out to dinner with Bloodshot, and Bloodshot tells you their life story. That comes later normally. So I'm not thrilled with this trailer, but there's nothing particularly about it that I disliked either. And I'm not going to sweat it too much because, like I said, it is just a first trailer, as I was saying, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. So nothing too exciting, nothing terribly bad about it either. I don't know, Rob, you had a chance to watch Bloodshot this morning. What do you think about this new trailer?
Well, I kind of felt the way you did. I mean, it's the first Valiant universe movie with things like Archer and Armstrong and Exo Manowar and all that. So we'll see where it goes. And it looked fine, but like you said, you nailed it, man. It looked like I was watching movies, everything from Upgrade to a Spider-Man movie to RoboCop or whatever, and it didn't look, there was nothing in it that I hadn't seen before, nothing in it that necessarily floated my intellectual noodle, you know, or boiled my intellectual noodle.
That's the new one, float my intellectual noodle.
You have to be boiled my intellectual noodle. Boiled the noodle. And I didn't, I just am like, okay, you know, this looks like a serviceable B movie. If it's really clever and witty and interesting, I did like the line when he said, have you been playing this song on repeat?
Yes, it's been on repeat. Yeah.
It kind of broke the fourth wall of the actual trailer. But it's fine. I mean, I like Vin Diesel. I'm more excited that they announced a new Riddick movie. They're going to make the Furion movie finally, and I want to see that.
Well, he's been talking about that for years.
Yeah, but I guess they're moving forward on it. So,
Chris, you had a chance to see this Bloodshot trailer. Did it move your needle?
You know, it looks like a less fun Hardcore Henry.
Oh wow! Okay,
which kind of bums me out. Like you guys were saying, the visuals look really, really cool. But yeah, I've seen so many movies like this that seem like they've done it better. But obviously, I've got to hold off judgment until I see the actual darn thing.
Yep.
Was anyone else thrown off by him not saying "I am Groot" though? Like the minute he opened his mouth, I was like, no.
Or
that's
family.
Yeah.
He killed my family. I was expecting to see that too. Like again. Nothing terribly bad about it. It's not like there was a lot in the trailer that made me go, oh, like, no. I just didn't find anything particularly interesting, except for the visual style. We'll see where they go with trailer number 2.
Jason Statham turns out to be the villain in the movie, and then he kills him at the end, and it's justice for Han. I'd love it.
There we go. It does look like a good cast. I'm really excited about who's
Well,
in
it's got Memento boy
Guy
Pearce.
Guy Pearce, yeah.
It's got
Lamorne
I
Morris.
love
It's got
Guy
Sam
Pearce.
Me too.
Hugan
Or LA
from
Confidential
Outlaw?
Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
Love those guys. All right, question is, guys, did you have a chance to see this trailer for Bloodshot? If so, what did you think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, before we get to our main topics, we got one other thing off the top, and that is this. One of the movies we do know is coming out pretty imminently is the new Terminator Dark Fate. Now, this has been on a little bit of a roller coaster ride as far as public perception has gone. Because they announced Dark Fate, a lot of people, James Cameron's back. Deadpool director. Oh. And then the footage gets shown at CinemaCon, and everybody raves about all the footage they showed at CinemaCon. Then the infamous, terrible music choice of I'm Going Hunting trailer came out, and when a lot of people going, ah. And then the trailer after that came, it's like, oh. So it's gone a little bit up and down like that, right? Well, the first round of people to see it have now come out, and actually the response for Terminator Dark Fate is really solid.
Yeah.
The overall general feeling that's being communicated about the movie is everybody basically across the board is saying this is easily the best Terminator movie since Terminator 2. That's not necessarily saying a lot. We haven't had, as what would you call it, the Citizen Kane of the Terminator franchise?
No, there's been no Fast Five of the Terminator. Aside from Terminator and Terminator 2.
Right. Yeah, aside from Terminator 2. But since Terminator 2, it's not like we've gotten anything epic per se. But they all are saying, basically across the board, this is really good. It's really solid. It's a return to form for the franchise. And it is at least the best since Terminator 2. Anyway, some of the comments coming here. Matt Singer says the following: Terminator's thought of as an Arnold franchise. Dark Fate makes it clear he wasn't the ingredient that made it work. It's Linda Hamilton. She's incredible in this. And the movie's very solid. I recently defended all the Terminator sequels, so make of that what you will. Then we got Jermaine Lucier from IO9 who writes, Terminator Dark Fate is basically Terminator The Force Awakens, a satisfying, exciting reboot that's essentially the best of Part 1 or of T1 and T2 in a blender. Davis, Reyes, Hamilton are excellent. The action wows. And while it's familiar, it's easily the best Terminator yet, probably since Terminator 2. Terminator is back. Cinematical's Eric Eisenberg says, excited to report that Terminator Dark Fate is the best sequel in the franchise since Terminator 2. It's a return to basics movie. Reminiscent of Star Wars The Force Awakens. We're hearing a couple of people saying that. The Force Awakens in that way. But the new heroes are fantastic. It's great to see Legends kicking ass, and the action is great. And this is basically the refrain we're getting repeated from everybody. It's really good. No one's saying it's as good as Terminator 2. No one's going that crazy. But everybody's saying it's quite good. It's very enjoyable. It's the best one they've had in the franchise since Terminator 2. And basically, very hopeful stuff. Now, Rob, when I saw the trailers for this, other than the I'm Going Hunting debacle,
Right.
I've always thought, this looks like it could be interesting. It feels like they're going back to basics. To some people, that might be a negative thing because it's like, it's just the same Terminator story. Some other people may say it's getting back to basics, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, if this is the first time I'm catching that same enthusiasm that we heard coming out of CinemaCon that people had. And that was all the way back in April.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear this the initial response. Now, I haven't seen it yet myself, so I'll withhold judgment. But this is at least good to hear on this level. Do you have any surprises hearing this stuff?
Well, you know, look, I keep going back to Tim Miller. And I was lucky enough, I don't know if you were at the screening at John Schnepp and I went to a screening at IMAX headquarters to see the first Deadpool. And we talked to Tim Miller afterwards for quite some time. And it was very clear after seeing his Injustice video game stuff that he did for Justice League and then watching Deadpool that he's a really smart guy. And he really knows his stuff. And watching his childlike enthusiasm at CinemaCon when he came out using expletives and he was jumping off the stage. He was so excited about this movie. And I'm like, this movie's probably going to be pretty damn good. You got James Cameron coming back. And then all of the less enthusiastic reception for the trailers, even my less enthusiastic reception, because what they showed at CinemaCon was better. I've kind of not been feeling this movie. And I think a lot of people have. They're like, why are we seeing more of the same? But to hear that it's good, I'm like, okay. My initial impression of Tim Miller and the fact that you should never bet against James Cameron has now been bared out. And I love to hear that we're getting a decent Terminator movie because don't we all love Terminator, John? Doesn't everyone love, like, the idea of Terminator? We grew up with Terminator. Don't we all want good Terminator? So when we get good Terminator, it's good all the way around.
I think everybody loved Terminator, but I think like a bad marriage, a lot of people have fallen out of love with Terminator.
Right.
As the decades have gone on. And look, I don't know if this movie's going to be great, but it's at least good to hear that there are some people seeing it and they're actually saying it's a bit of a winner. Chris, how does this adjust your expectations going into like a Terminator, and where are your expectations for it right now?
I mean, it does move the needle slightly because I've said on the show before that I haven't been excited about this movie. I didn't know why we were getting it. I didn't know who asked for it because I have been hurt before by this franchise.
Many times.
So many times. And I won't let it happen again. I'm going to guard my heart. But this makes me feel a lot better and more confident with the film that so many people are enjoying it. And I like the idea of back to basics because T1, T2, those are the staples, right? So if it is more reminiscent of those early films, I'm definitely going to give it a shot.
So the question here is, guys, what do you make of this? Now, again, these are just first early reactions and all that kind of stuff, but at least it's positive stuff we're hearing. Has this, as Chris put it, moved the needle for you at all? I want to know what you guys think. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, see, it's really easy. You guys come up with them by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you'll see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
This first question is from Taylor McGovern. Hey guys, so Monday night, tonight, is the Star Wars trailer. There's something really poetic about it dropping on Carrie Fisher's birthday, too. So what should we expect to see from this new and final trailer? I am so excited. I am wearing one of my Star Wars t-shirts in Spanish. What are you guys thinking we're going to see?
In Spanish, nonetheless. Yeah, well, first of all, it is a trifecta of greatness. It is a trifecta of greatness. Number one, we're getting the new Star Wars trailer. Number two, it's being done on Carrie Fisher's birthday, that's not coincidence. Let's just be, that's not coincidence. Number three, it's being shown during the New England Patriot football game. So I'll get a chance to watch my Patriots. By the way, how the Seahawks do yesterday.
You had to bring that up. You had to just bring that up. They lost to Baltimore.
They'll be fine. They'll have one bad game. They'll be fine. Anyway, I get to watch my Patriots on Monday Night Football, then watch the Star Wars trailer, watch it with millions of friends around the world, and of course, it's all being done on Carrie Fisher's birthday. So that's all coming tonight. Very excited for it. Hopefully, it'll be better than the Bloodshot trailer. That said, what do I expect from this thing? Now, I get asked a lot, many times, Rob, what do you want to see in it? And I'm like, no, don't go there with me. I am out of the business of prefabricating my mind what they're supposed to put in these things. I just want to see what they present, and then hopefully it'll be something good and something that I like. But what do I expect? What do I think they'll put in there? Not what do I hope they put in there. What do I think we're going to get? I think there's two key things that we're going to get. And now what? We'll find out tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow about whether I'm way off base on this. Number one, we will get a general sense of what the story is in this one. Because so far, what we've seen from the sizzles and stuff like that, we really haven't got any sense what's the story of this movie. We haven't got any of that. We know the characters are there, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like this trailer will not make the mistake that Blade Runner 2049 did with their marketing, never letting anybody know what the movie was even frickin' about. They won't make that mistake. They will let us know what this movie is at least basically about tonight. My second expectation is this, and I've gone back and forth on this. I think we will see Ian McDiarmid. I think we will see Palpatine. Now, I've gone back and forth on that in my mind, because on the one hand, there's something great about maintaining the aura of the mystery about it and simply hearing his cackle or simply hearing him say, "Good," or something along those lines and not actually seeing his face. That said, I think they know right from Star Wars Celebration when they played that first trailer and then we hear the Emperor at the end and Ian McDiarmid standing on stage saying, "Run it again." That's what got everybody talking. And for this, what they are calling the final trailer, and I'm sure there will be more television spots to come, but for this final trailer, I've gone back and forth, Rob, but I think we are going to see Palpatine in this trailer. I don't know that for certain. Here's something I don't think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see Luke. I think JJ's going to follow, with whatever influence he has over the marketing. And most times directors have no say over the marketing, but I think JJ does have a little bit here. If they're going to follow that pattern, we didn't really see any Luke for The Force Awakens. I don't think we're going to see any Luke here, but I think we're going to get a sense of the story, and I think we're going to see Palpatine. Rob, what are your expectations? What do you think we're going to get out of this trailer tonight?
Bro, I don't think we're going to see Palpatine. I know we're going to see Palpatine. As a matter of fact, I know we're going to see Palpatine wrecking shop. I expect to see Force lightning coming out of his hands. They got to give us something where people go, "Oh my God." And there's nothing, whether you like Last Jedi or not, there's nothing at the end of Last Jedi that brings you in. Like, basically, the Resistance was routed. Whoever's left flies away in the Millennium Falcon. They've got the Jedi books, and unless it's like the paper chase where people are learning in college about the Jedi texts, which it's not going to be, what is this story going forward? The story is of Rise of Skywalker is that Palpatine's back in the movie. That's the story. I don't care what happens with Kylo and Rey. I'm sure it'll be fine. But the fact that Palpatine's coming back is the biggest Star Wars news that this movie has to lay on us. And they're going to show us that. I would not be surprised if the final epic shot of this trailer is Palpatine being Palpatine, like we want to see him. And we're going to see some fighting, and we're going to see some old friends. We're going to see Chewbacca growl. We're going to see maybe why don't they team up R2 and BB-8? Why aren't R2 and BB-8 like going off with guns and firing and doing something together? Yeah. Why do we get another new droid? We don't get to see R2. I want to see my one hope, John, for this movie is that R2 and BB-8 are like Butch and Sundance. That's what I want to see.
Well, no, nobody wants to break up 3PO and R2.
I still want
3PO kind of does.
Look, BB-8, R2 has been done dirty by this new trilogy. He has not been let to be a hero. I want R2 to have his moment. That's the thing I want the most from this. Bring it on.
Somebody suggested something to me that, look, trailers are corporately designed pieces of media manipulation meant to trick you into giving a company your money. That's what trailers are. They are. That doesn't mean we can't enjoy them, and I do. But I'm very aware of the fact that they are corporately designed pieces of mass media manipulation to get them to make me give them my money. And they do it well. And I can enjoy it along the way. Sounds like a strip club. Anyway. A friend of mine suggested to me, "John, what will you do if the final shot of this trailer is a shot of a shot of the Emperor pulling out a lightsaber, and the camera swings around, and it's Luke Skywalker pulling out his lightsaber?" I said, I'm not going to lie. I may masturbate like a furious monkey right there in the room, wherever I am. I think I'm going to be at an outdoor patio tonight watching the Monday Night Football game.
you're fine.
I will probably stand on a chair in the middle of public, defecate everywhere, and lose my mind. I will lose my... Now, that's not going to happen. Let's be very, very, very clear. That is not going to happen. But when my buddy put that picture in my head, I couldn't help but feel my pulse pick up. And obviously that's not going to happen. But I think you're right, Rob. I think we'll at least get that shot of the Emperor doing something Emperor-ish. Now, we're going to find out in about 12 hours or less. We're going to find out probably in about 10 hours. And then we will know how right or wrong we really are. Chris, let me ask you this. Prediction time. What do you think? Not what do you hope we're going to see or anything like that. What do you think we're going to see or not see in this trailer tonight?
100%. We are getting Papa Palpatine.
Papa Palpatine.
Papa Palpatine
That's Anne's
showing
favorite.
up.
By the way, all-time, my wife, my number one all-time favorite Star Wars character is Palpatine. Number one all-time.
We're definitely going to see him. We're definitely going to see it. I'm really excited. I think we're going to see more of that dark ray or clone or whatever that situation is going to be in the trailer as well. I think we're going to see all of our friends finally put together in one room because that's where we left them off, all on that Star Cruiser together. We're going to see where everyone's going from there. I'm just excited that I'm going to go to a sports bar for not just hot wings for once because we've established I don't understand how the sports ball works. What time is Monday Night Football?
Is it 5? I can't remember. I'm still not adjusted to my West Coast time here. Is it
Yeah.
5 o'clock or 5:30?
Well, if it's an East Coast game, I think, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll start at 8 or 9 on the
Yeah.
East Coast or something like that. So 5 or 6. So I'm assuming they're going to play it at halftime.
Okay.
And they'll make a big deal out of it, I think. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Question here is, guys, it's the day of. We're getting the Star Wars trailer tonight, piggybacking on top of another glorious New England Patriot win. What do you guys expect? Not what do you hope to see. What do you think we're going to see in this Star Wars trailer? Jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This is from Geeky Gator. So the weekend box office is in, and Maleficent, Mistress of Evil opened to Disney's lowest opening weekend this year. Even lower than Dumbo. It opened around Wrinkle in Time, which went on to lose money, and I'm sure this movie cost more. So, is this movie destined to lose money? Thanks. Lower than Dumbo. What is the fate of this movie?
Listen, I've been saying from day one, yes, don't underestimate Maleficent too much because the first one did make a lot of money, but it's been a long time since the first one, and the first one was not beloved. And I've always kind of scratched my head a little bit about why they even made this one, to be honest with you. Now, look, Angelina Jolie, even though I didn't like the first Maleficent very much, Angelina Jolie was great in it. So if you're just looking for a vehicle for Angelina Jolie, okay, I get it. But, a lot of people said, John, could it also be $1 billion movie for Disney this year? It's like, no, it's not. It's not going to do that well. I don't know if it'll do as well as first one. Maybe it will, blah, blah, blah. Opening weekend came out, and it's number 1 at the box office. But sometimes number 1 isn't good enough. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil made $36 million on its opening weekend. Now, to put that into context, I believe Dumbo was around the 45 mark, somewhere around there. But to put it more into context, this is almost half of what the first Maleficent made opening weekend. The first Maleficent made just a hair under $70 million. So not quite half, but almost a 50% drop. Almost a 50% drop at the box offices. That's not good. Now, I'm not saying it's time for everybody to jump up and down and panic completely, but you don't want to see that sort of a drop-off. That's pretty bad. Now, just following up with what the other top 5 were, Joker hanging in there at second place, $29.2 million. Zombieland 2 Double Tap took in $26.7 million. Addams Family made another. Addams Family is doing better than I thought.
Yeah.
It's not like a huge blockbuster or anything, but it's doing better than I thought it would. Gemini Man, which we will talk about here in a bit, comes in 5th place in just its second weekend at only $8.5 million. But we'll get around to that here in just a second. Rob, when you look at this number, now look, let's be very, very clear. There are filmmakers today, Rob, that would kill to make a movie that opened with $36 million in opening weekend. But those filmmakers aren't making movies for $120 million plus. And they're not making them for a Disney that's been on an iconic, historic run this year. I don't even know when Disney will be able to repeat what Disney did this year. It's insane. And we still have We still have Frozen 2, and we still have Star Wars Episode 9 to come. It's insane. But it looks like Maleficent's going to fall short. Now, look, Maleficent's not a great movie. And the sequel isn't. I think this movie is an improvement over the first one, but it still wasn't great. And one of the big problems to me with Maleficent 2 is the fact that it's called Maleficent. You've got Angelina Jolie. The trailers just do nothing but showcase Angelina Jolie. And whenever Angelina Jolie is on screen, this movie works. Problem is, she's in a lot less of this movie than you might think she would be. This really is Sleeping Beauty 2 than it is Maleficent 2. It really focuses more on Fanning than it does on Jolie. And not that there's anything wrong with Fanning in the movie at all, but
certainly not.
I think this just really emphasizes what we were saying months ago. Making this movie was not a good idea. And I think even if Maleficent 2 was fantastic, which it's not, it's up for interpretation, it's all subjective, but even if it was fantastic, which it's not, I don't think it would have made much more than $36 million opening weekend anyway. It's a movie that the original was too long ago, and it wasn't that well received. Yes, it made money, but you had to, I don't know. I don't even think, though I thought it would come this low. Even I, who I was a little bit skeptical, even I didn't think it would come this low. Rob, I don't think you've seen this movie yet.
No.
But, are you surprised? I knew you didn't think it was going to be a huge blockbuster. I knew it wasn't going to make $100 million or anything, but you see these numbers. Is there any surprise to you? And what do you attribute this to?
It's not surprising to me. I just think that it's a movie that's come out at the wrong time. I mean, we have audiences flocking. I mean, Joker, Adrian Iscariot keeps going, see, I told you how much Joker was going to make. Joker is making a ton of money, and look what it's about. Look what audiences are getting. Endgame, the universe was decimated, brought back after the decimation, after the blip. And then you have this literally a fairy tale throwback movie that's coming out in the midst of everything, whether it's Avengers movies or MCU movies, whether it's Joker, whether it's the upcoming Star Wars, whether it's Hobbs and Shaw. The world, the movie-going world right now is not the world that Maleficent is going to be appealing to most people, I think. And maybe if it came out at a different time, it might have done better, but it's like a fairy tale throwback to a different era. And I think there's no cool factor to Maleficent now, even for kids. Like, they're not talking about how much they're going to run out and go see this movie. And I think that might be, movies have to come out at the right time to be successful. And whatever that is, I don't know. How do you get a movie to come out at the right time? I don't know. But I think this is just the wrong time for Maleficent.
See, I don't know. I don't know that I agree, because there's a part of me that thinks, counter-program. Just because one type of movie is working doesn't mean that excludes other types of movies from working, Because we've seen that happen. I just keep going back to just people didn't love the first one.
Right.
They didn't like the first one all that much. Why would we expect them to come back in droves? But timing could be an issue. Because if it's just like the fairy tale kind of thing isn't thing, then Disney's got to be extra worried, because they've got Onward coming out pretty soon, which is basically all predicated on fairy tales, right? So they're going to have to be worried about that. It's going to be interesting to see what
Onward has a cool spin. There's this cool, this modern, the fairy tales are real, but now the world progressed to where we are today. And there's you watch Onward, those trailers, it's like, oh, I'm in. I totally get what they're doing. And that looks fun to me. Whereas this, even Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, had a lot more going on than Maleficent did. And I just think that we've got to, Maleficent just seems like a movie from a different time.
And you know what? The other problem is that people have caught on that it's a lie. This movie is not Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. That was the hook the first time out. We're going to see a movie from the perspective of the bad guy. Only she wasn't the bad guy. She was just the misunderstood good guy. And then they doubled down on that and called this one Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. No, she's even more a good guy in this one than she was in the last one. She's just misunderstood and she's been hurt. And it's like, so there's that too. So you take away to what you were saying, Rob, you take away what was kind of the coolest factor about this, the most different and unique thing about it. You're going up from the villain, but same problem that they had with the first film. So question here is, guys, are you surprised by the $36 million opening from Maleficent? Do you think more people would have been interested in it than that? Are you surprised that more people didn't flock out to it? Maybe you saw the film, maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. What do you think about all this? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. Chris, what is our third main topic today?
This question's from Allie M. I personally didn't mind Gemini Man, although it certainly wasn't great. However, the movie made just $8.5 million on its second weekend, which means that after its first 2 weeks, when movies make most of their money, it's only made $118 million worldwide. Just how big of a disaster is this movie for the studio? John, is this a big disaster for the studio?
Look, people tend to blow things out of proportion. Yes, this is a massive, massive disaster. Make no mistake about it. This is a massive disaster for Skydance. It's a massive disaster for Paramount. It's a massive disaster. There was a Chinese company as well that put in and co-financed it. Now, the one good news here for Paramount and Skydance is that I think there was 4 main financiers for this. So the losses are going to get to be spread out among them. And look, I didn't hate Gemini Man. I actually thought there were some interesting things about it. Bad script. But visually, I had a relatively good time seeing it, and I didn't hate this movie at all. But there's no other way to cut it other than complete unmitigated disaster. This movie could cost them, Hollywood Reporter is saying they could lose up to $75 million. Gone. Just like that. And I think it's going to be closer to $100 million loss. So I think Hollywood Reporter is being a little optimistic. Now, look, let's break down the numbers on this, okay? Because this isn't a scientific accuracy. This is just ballpark figures here, okay? Look, the production cost of Gemini Man, some people are reporting it's $135. Closer numbers are really $140. So production cost on the movie is $140 million. The Hollywood Reporter reports that they had a $100 million marketing spend. They put a lot into marketing this movie. So you're talking a total cost now of $240 million to make and market this movie. The current box office is $118 million, but remember, the movie theaters keep roughly 33%. So really, the money that's coming back to the distributors in the studio out of that $118 million is really only about $79 million. When you compare the $240 million in expenses to put this out with the $79 million they've taken in as of this moment, and again, this is not meant to be right on the nose, this is just general ballpark, but as of this moment, you're talking about a movie that is $161 million in the hole, and it's already done its first 2 weekends. As the person who wrote in the message said, that's when the movie, first 2 weekends is when the movie makes the lion's share of its money. Word of mouth ain't going to propel Gemini Man to a resurgence to big legs in week 3 and 4. And that's why I thought the $75 million in losses was very optimistic. I think it's going to be closer to a $100 million loss. That is not something that any studio, even a Disney, can't just sit there, smile, and swallow. That is huge. And the real unfortunate and maybe a little bit ironic thing here, Rob, is that you're talking one of the biggest movie stars in the world coming off his first billion-dollar film. This year, we had Will Smith do such a terrific job in Aladdin. That movie joined the billion-dollar club. And in that same year, this also might be Will Smith's biggest financial disaster of his career. Now, I don't pin any of this on Will Smith. I thought he did quite a good job in the movie for the script that was there and for the dialogue that was there. He did a fine job. He was actually great as his older and his younger self. So I don't pin any of this on Will Smith. But there is something kind of unfortunate that just a few weeks, Rob, after being able to pop champagne and celebrate the biggest box office success of his career, he's also going to have to wake up to news that it's also the biggest financial bomb of his career at the same time. You really can't overstate how big of an unmitigated disaster this movie has turned out to be. And I didn't even think it was terrible.
No.
I didn't even think it was terrible, but that's that. Rob, you're seeing this. Am I overplaying this, or how do you interpret this whole thing?
No, I mean, it ain't show friends, it's show business, and the numbers don't lie. And unfortunately, again, this is another movie where the script, as we know, was like 20 years old. And it's an action movie that, aside from its central gimmick, where you have an actor portraying himself as 20 years or 30 years younger, which is admittedly cool, the rest of the movie doesn't live up to the technological advancements that the film is making. How is this different than a standard episode of any sci-fi TV show? It just seems so. I mean, Looper, a movie that probably cost 10 times less than what this movie cost. You had Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing a younger Bruce Willis with some prosthetic makeup, and it was a more interesting movie.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Now, this movie, I'm always looking for, especially with genre fare, an intellectual hook. What about this movie makes it different? Now, okay, the gimmick is good. The idea of these two guys, they're the same guy, that's interesting. But once you've done that, what's the story? That you've given me a premise, but then the story needs to live up to that premise. And I certainly don't think that it did. And that's what's kind of a bummer. The rest of the movie is so generic. And I love Clive Owen, but I have to say, dude, not one of his better performances.
Dude, Clive Owen is a titan to me. But the last couple of movies, why is he getting this dreck? He's in that. Then he was in Block of Blocks and the City of a Thousand Planets. What was the first one?
Valerian.
Valerian, thank you. Block of Block and the City of a Thousand Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. He was in that. And dude, this is the guy from Children of Men. Why is he not getting better roles?
This was no shoot 'em up, John.
I love shoot 'em up. By the way,
I produced the special features on that.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I know a guy we're both familiar with. Mike. He
Michael
directed
Davis.
that. Anyway, I like that one. Anyway, guys, listen. How do you see this whole Gemini thing? Do you think, you listen, guys, it's not all that big of a deal. Maybe it's a bigger deal than even we're making it out to be. Maybe you love the movie. Maybe you hated it. What did you think about this whole thing? Jump down in the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. Chris, what is main topic number 4?
Rokan Alzir writes, in the words of the Smiths, Big Mouth strikes again. Francis Ford Coppola has come out and defended Scorsese's comments about comic book movies and even said they're not inspirational and called them despicable. What do you think? What you think?
Listen, let me be very clear about something. I put this on my social media as well. I don't begrudge anybody, including big filmmakers, to like or not like whatever movies they like or don't like, right? That's the subjectivity of film. That's what it means to be a film fan. We like what we like and we don't like what we don't like. And that's why, just giving a little bit of groundwork here, when Marty Scorsese came out and made his first comment about it, calling that, I don't really consider the comic book movies cinema as well as they're made, blah, 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 I defended him. I'm like, you know what? I see where he's coming from. People like me have called the comic book genre just mostly it's spectacle, some great spectacle, but it's an evolving genre and it's getting better. And we're seeing some real breakthroughs. Films like Joker, films like Logan, films, on and on. But I defended him basically, saying I don't necessarily agree with him, but hey, is he really all that off from what he's saying when you really think about the context? But you see, I believe there is a difference between having your own personal opinions about a movie, particularly when you're a filmmaker, and mounting a campaign actively against a genre of film. When Marty Scorsese made his first comment, he was just expressing a thought. But then he takes to the stage and doubled down, started calling comic book movies invaders, that they're invading our cinemas, that movie theater chains need to step up and keeps them out a little bit to make more room for other films, even though 97% of all movies that are come out in 2020 are those other films. So I don't know what Marty is smoking. Well, then Francis Ford Coppola, one of the all-time greats, the maker of arguably not one, but maybe the two greatest films of all time in Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, another one of the most iconic films of all time in Apocalypse Now, He was at a film festival, got on stage, and he doubled down on what Marty was saying, ratcheting up the semantic battle and ramping up the toxicity in his language, and this is what he said. When Martin Scorsese says that the Marvel pictures are not cinema, he's right. Because we expect to learn something from cinema. We expect to gain some enlightenment, some knowledge, some inspiration. I don't know what anyone gets out of seeing the same movie over and over again. Martin was kind when he said it's not cinema. He didn't say it's despicable, which I just say it is. And that is, of course, coming from Francis Ford Coppola. There's a couple things I want to say about this. Number one, none of what Francis Ford Coppola has just said, or Martin Scorsese has said, at all shakes the foundations that they are two of the greatest titans ever in the business of filmmaking. They are two of the best that have ever done it, and nothing that they say about Marvel movies or comic book movies change any of that. And again, to repeat, because it's important, they are completely entitled to their opinion. Again, though, there is a difference between having an opinion and then openly, viciously trying to attack the only fucking game in town that's keeping the movie theaters alive today, you jackasses. There's a difference between saying, that's not for me. Like, quite often, guys, anime will come up, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say, you know what? It's not, anime is just not really for me.
Yeah. And that does not make me hate you.
And oddly enough, that doesn't make you hate me. It's just, hey, you know what? It's just not for me. A lot of people love it. Not for me. You want to talk about the Star Wars prequels? Okay, I hate those things, but I celebrate if other people like them. That's great if other people like them. They're not for me. They don't work. If you ask me, I'll say, I think they're terrible, but a lot of people love them, and that's great. What has saddened me a lot when looking at this situation of Scorsese and then the escalation of Scorsese and now even the escalation more by Ford Coppola, what saddens me a lot is the complete lack of class. The complete lack of class these infinitely classy men are exhibiting. Rob, I've said for a long time, I have a fundamental problem, particularly when it comes to movies. When filmmakers, I just don't believe this should happen. Filmmakers, which is a astronomically difficult thing to do and to be. When filmmakers, unprovoked, start attacking and shit-talking the work of other creators. I just think that is absolutely classless. Let the fans talk about what they like and don't like. Let the film critics talk about what they like and don't like. As a filmmaker yourself, it's not your place, and you're allowed to say, that movie's not for me, but have some class. Say, hey, look, Marty had some statements. This is what I wish Coppola would have said. Look, Marty had his statements. I support him. And, it's just, I know these films are very popular, and I know there are a lot of people who really love them, but they're not for me. Have some class. I've never appreciated filmmaking. Now, some people will say, I just like hearing some honesty. No. There's a place to have class. If you are a filmmaker to just come out without any provocation and attack the work of other filmmakers, and James Gunn has been very active on social media about this. He feels, because these two guys are gods to him.
Yeah.
Scorsese and Coppola are gods to James Gunn. And he's had to sit there, a guy who has never done anything but revere these guys, praise these guys, idolize these guys, and have these guys, for no reason, it's fine if they don't like his film, that's one thing, for no reason to vilify and demonize, to the point calling them despicable, attacking, undermining, berating, and delegitimize his work has been very hurtful. And I get that. Now, again, there are going to be some misguided people that try to fly to Scorsese's and Coppola, Forever Greatness is their names, but who will try to fly to their defense saying they're just expressing their opinion. No, if you're not an idiot, you know there's a difference between just expressing an opinion and going on a warpath attack stance. This has become a campaign. And this has become classless in my point of view. And again, I'm not saying a Scorsese or DiCaprio needs to like these movies. Not at all. There are a lot of people who don't like comic book movies. There are people who don't like the Godfather movies. There are people who don't like Star Wars movies. That's fine. But this thing of a revered filmmaker, unprovoked, to come out and delegitimize and undermine the work of other creators who have never done anything to him so viciously, and by the way, very tone deafly, because I want to bring up something that Coppola said here. He said, because we learned something from cinema, we expect to gain something, some enlightenment. Tell me what enlightenment I got from Captain EO. Anyway, some enlightenment, some knowledge, some inspiration. I don't know when anybody gets out of these. I'll tell you what people get out of them, Francis. There are a lot of people who get a lot of inspiration out of these movies. There are a lot of people who have their imagination sparked and brought to life by these movies. There are a lot of people who gain different points of view on the world they live in because of these movies, and that's totally fine if you don't, but fuck you if you think nobody else does and nobody else should. With all due respect. Again, there are going to be people who misguidedly try to say, hey, relax, they're just expressing their opinions. No. This is a different thing. This is a different level. This is a mounted, coordinated attack on something that is keeping the industry alive just because it's not their kind of movies. And there is nothing wrong with them just saying, hey, these movies ain't for us. I don't personally enjoy them. Nothing wrong with that. And that's why I defended Scorsese when he made his first comment. But it's just, again, Rob, to me, sad, because these are guys we revere, and I always will, and none of that changes. These are the guys we all respect. We got The Irishman coming out, which we're all excited to see. Everybody's excited to see. But to act with such lack of class is disheartening. And it reeks of old man yelling at cloud. If you guys have seen that Simpsons meme, it reeks of, even though it hasn't, this business has not left Martin Scorsese behind, but it reeks of a couple of guys who feel like the business has left them behind. It's just sad. And if this was nobody's saying this crap, who cares? But they're titans, Rob. Anyway, I've gone on enough about that. Your thoughts on the escalation that just brought to the table here by Francis Ford Coppola?
Well, I did my whole show observations on this yesterday, and one of the things that I find strange about this is both Coppola and Scorsese began in genre cinema. They began doing grindhouse. In Coppola's case, he did literally sex films, and I don't understand. Take the first Iron Man. Just look at the first Iron Man. The first Iron Man is a fairly intimate story about a man coming to grips with what he's been doing in the world and realizing he's been doing something wrong. And he undergoes a transformation, a change of heart, which is a classical story. I mean, whether you want to say it's part of the MCU or not, it's about a man who was dealing arms, living high on the hog. He didn't really think about what he was doing and the ramifications of what was happening in the world because of what he was doing. And he himself, through being touched by his own weapons and winding up in his own situation, has a change of heart and ends up in a battle, not with the forces of the universe, but with somebody in his own company who wants to oust it away from him and his own family. And it's a very intimate story. Yes, he makes himself the Iron Man suit, and yes, he fights Jeff Bridges as Ironmonger. But really, it's really about the battle of a man in his own soul against a family member. And that's a pretty intimate story. And regardless of how you look at things, that's a legit story to tell. You could have told that story in many other different venues as well, but they chose to make it the cornerstone, literally the foundational block of the MCU. That's a legit movie, no matter how you're looking at it, no matter where you're coming from, whether you like genre films, whether you like superhero movies at all. And these are guys that haven't even watched these movies. We know from Ryan Coogler that he talks about when Coppola did see Black Panther. So he did see Black Panther. But for them to attack these films, it seems like I feel like I'm watching like the PMRC, like Tipper Gore back in the 80s complaining about what heavy metal music was doing to the minds of America. And I'm like, babe, you have never sat down. You've never listened to like Ronnie James Dio. You never played a Quiet Riot record. You did not listen to Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In. You don't know what you're talking about. And unless you're a headbanger yourself, you are not qualified to discuss what's going on. And I feel that Coppola and Scorsese are not. I'm like, why would you bother? You guys know genre cinema. It just drives me crazy. I'm like, Marty, the studios would not make The Irishman. You got $165 million from Netflix. You're in the middle of the evolutionary sea change the industry is going through, and you are leading the charge. You have nothing to bitch about. Coppola is talking about at 80 making Megalopolis, which he shot footage from. He's going to get to make it. I mean, what is the problem? Movies are healthier now than perhaps they've ever been. People are more excited. They're coming back to the cinema. You've got new generations of kids that are watching these Marvel movies that are going to go off and finally find their way back to your movies. Joker is going to bring them back to Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. Why are you bitching? Why?
Chris, you've heard the escalation of the comments.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I mean, it's kind of like being like Degas and Lichtenstein. They're not artists. One does art, one does crap. It's all art. It's all subjective. And one of the things I really like on this show is you guys do a really good job of pointing out how geek culture can have its gatekeepers, right? We as comic book fans sometimes can go, no, this is mine, this is my precious, and you all are ruining it this, or you don't get to know about this. This is my knowledge. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here with film, is that there's a gatekeeping happening. It feels very elitist to say that these aren't films. Film is one of the most accessible art forms there is. So it's very important that it is reflective of the human condition. And boy, howdy are these comic book movies reflective of the human condition. People with all kinds of different mental disorders have talked about how they really connected to the Hulk character, how they really, really felt for Thor and his whole journey through Endgame, and how he still felt worthy at the end, and how that really connected with them. You know, these were stories that helped us build our own morality, our own sense of right and wrong. So if you're not inspired or don't get anything out of them, that's a you problem, not a movie problem. And again, I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. If you like this stuff, great. If you don't like it, that's great. You can have an opinion, and you can also not be an asshole.
Plus, I mean, these are the culmination. You couldn't have made Thanos 20 years ago.
Yeah.
He might have been a practical character, and you would have seen a latex ball sack on his chin instead of the amazing what Thanos has been turned into using state of the art CG. Scorsese's own de-aging technology was sort of pioneered through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's amazing that what James Cameron was doing in the 80s in The Abyss with the pseudopod that led to the T-1000 and T2, which led to Jurassic Park being able to make photorealistic dinosaurs. The MCU is a culmination of all of modern cinema technology coming together, making something possible that wasn't even possible 25 years ago. And it's really interesting. I consider myself a very astute film fan. I love Coppola's work. He's a god to me. But these movies, which I would have loved to have seen as a kid in the 70s, could not have existed until now. And as a middle-aged man with one foot in the grave, I am much richer that I can watch Infinity War and Endgame today than ever before. So I don't get what your problem is, brah.
And look, and fundamentally, look, and I don't want the conversation to devolve into you should like these movies, Francis. No, hey, if you don't like them, you don't like them. It is what it is. But also, there's an incredible sense of a lack of wisdom when, look, the comic book movies right now, right or wrong, whether you like it or not, they are the most dominant force in the box office right now. The studios don't make that. The fans make that.
Yeah.
The fans decide what is going to be the most dominant force in the box office. The fans decide what they want to spend their money to go see. The fans decide what is entertaining them and challenging them and opening up their imaginations. The fans decide that. For a Coppola and a Scorsese, especially when you start upping the verbiage, and you start using words like invading, despicable, all this kind of, especially when you're doing that, nobody would fault them to just go, not for me, don't like them, they don't really work. Nobody would fault them for that. But when you look at the fan and you speak out to the fan base and say, what you like sucks, The movies you're supporting, they're despicable. They're unwelcome invaders. It's an unwise thing to do. Again, say for the 5th time. I'm not saying they have to like them, and you can even say, I don't like them. They don't work for me. Well, I didn't have any problem with the first statement, but there's a lack of class. There's a lack of wisdom. There's a very myopic sort of, there's a little bit of navel gazing going on here, I feel like. And it is what it is. And look, we comic book movie fans can accurately and fairly be criticized about, don't talk about our precious comic book movies in a bad way. We can be that way. But I really do feel like this is a situation where, no, this really is a mounted attack on these things, and it's not good for them. It's not good for the fans. It's having us talk about crap that we should be talking about other things. But I just hope somebody gets in their ear and says, guys, you're just making yourselves look stupid, which is beneath you. Please stop. If next time somebody asks you, just say, you know what, the comic, I don't get them. They don't really do it for me. I don't like them so much, they're not for me. And then move on, and we'll go, oh, well, that's too bad. Okay, well, let's just move on with our life. Anyway, that's my thought. What do you guys think about the escalation brought onto this by Francis Ford Coppola at this? Jump on down in the comments section and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to the 5th and final main topic today. Chris, what is our 5th and final main topic today?
This last one's from Walter M. Hershey. Hey everyone, I know we're all very excited for The Mandalorian to debut, so I was wondering if you saw the early reactions to the show. Apparently everyone is raving about it. Does this make you more excited for it than you already were? Can you guys possibly be more excited about The Mandalorian?
You know what? I thought for a while no, but really there is more room for me to get excited. And yeah, so a bunch of people have had a chance to see keep this in mind. Let's put this in perspective here. A very curated, carefully selected 27 minutes from the first 3 episodes were put together and shown to a bunch of media people. So keep that in mind. Very curated, selected 27 minutes taken from the first 3 episodes. But at least that's still a pretty good sample size. It's still at least a pretty good sample size. The response has been fantastic. Jennifer Landis writing, what a morning, saw 30 minutes of footage from The Mandalorian, and all I have to say is, this is the epic Star Wars we have all been waiting years for. Please pardon my excitement. Meckler writes, just saw 30 minutes of The Mandalorian. Wow. Feels more Western than sci-fi, from the shootouts to the standoffs to the Vidali onion stew. A new droid character named Gramps is always dotting over. We are entering a new phase of Star Wars, and the future looks bright. Our friend Peter Soretta from over there, /film, writes, just saw almost 30 minutes of The Mandalorian pilot episode. It feels like a thrilling return to the original era of Star Wars. It feels like a big-scale movie, not a TV series. They are still keeping a lot of mystery with deliberate cuts in the footage. Taylor writes, wow, hashtag The Mandalorian is completely amazing. Saw nearly a half hour of footage. From what I was told, they're from the first 3 episodes. Whoever you think Nick Nolte is, the answer will surprise you. So maybe he's giving away a little bit something he shouldn't say there. I also saw almost 30 minutes of Mandalorian footage this morning. It's truly incredible. It looks like the films, feels innately Star Wars, introduces new concepts, and adds layers that people have been waiting to see for a long time. Now again, we keep in mind here, Rob, that this was a very carefully curated and selected 27 minutes out of the first, I guess, 3 hours of the series, because each episode is going to be an hour long, to show. But still, it is almost a half hour of stuff. And the response has been good. Granted, this is just a couple of individuals. We may go see it and we may decide we don't like it. But you'd rather hear that people who did see it liked it rather than not. I got to tell you, Rob, this does increase my excitement for it a bit. This does get, particularly because I like Peter's take. I know Peter and I have a lot of similarities, some differences when it comes to this stuff, but hearing him that excited for it makes me kind of excited for it. Rob, you're hearing this response. What do you think?
Well, I've been excited for this since I saw that bootleg footage of Werner Herzog talking to the Mandalorian when they meet, when he takes the job in the first place. And I'm like, okay, the tone of this, this is what I've always wanted. I mean, the great thing about Star Wars is even when I was 10 years old and saw the first Star Wars, I knew I'm only seeing a tiny sliver of a giant universe. And I think, we've been focusing on the Skywalker saga, but in the EU and with extended universe and the video games and the comic books, we've seen that extended universe, and I think that's what this is. And we're finally getting a Star Wars that is made by the people that grew up with Star Wars, that understand in their own minds. They're fans of Star Wars that have made the transition to becoming world-class filmmakers, people that love Star Wars, that rare thing that all fans want. We want to see fans of something that have made the transition to true professionals who are at the top of their game, who go back to the thing that they're fans of the most and bring their filmmaking acumen to that thing. And we don't get it a lot. We really don't. We always get filmmakers that are hired to take a job, but not people that grew up loving this stuff. And I feel we're getting the ultimate, the best chefs that we could possibly have to create this just delicious souffle of Star Wars deliciousness. And I, for one, I can't wait for this show.
I like Kathy Kennedy, I do, but I have been critical of her because, to me, her number one job is making sure she's pairing the right director with the right project. And Star Wars under her watch, while I've liked the movies, has been one crazy, disastrous story of a director having to part ways after another, over and over and over again, from Josh Trank to Lord and Miller infamously, to the director of Episode 9, to what went on with Rogue One. She has shown an inability to properly make sure to evaluate and matching the right director with the right project. She's had some success as well. Getting Ron Howard in for Solo was a great stroke. Bringing JJ back was a good idea, but her track record's not good on that. So I've been somewhat critical of Kathy Kennedy on that. However, that said, I remember Jon Favreau, we were at D23 telling the story. Look, Kathy Kennedy probably has about 40 pitches for Star Wars ideas thrown at her a day, probably. And probably by some very big named people. Favreau went into her office and gave her a pitch for this show. Number one, I'm going to give her credit because she recognized the potential in it. And she's getting these pitches all the time. So she heard the pitch from Favreau, saw the upside to it, gave it the green light, but then also had the insight. And I'll give her world of credit for this as well. She said, and this is Favreau telling the story. She said to Favreau, "This is good. This is really good. But I think what can really make this pop is I want you to work with Dave Filoni on this." And now Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni had met previously, but not in a working context. So she said, "This sounds good, but I think it's right up Filoni's alley. I want you two to collaborate on this." And then so she hooked up Favreau with Filoni. And while I give her a lot of crap for the director disasters that we've had, I will turn around and I will give her a world of credit for this. Because Favreau stood on that stage set, and this was the best thing that could happen, because he said, "Me and Dave work so good together," and blah. Then Filoni came out on stage with Favreau, and they talked about their relationship. So I just hope, because I will sit here now and say, I'll give her, if this turns out great, I'll give her a lot of credit. If we're going to give her crap for some of the other things, we got to give her credit for this. And I just wonder if a lot of people will give her credit. But we'll have to wait and see. But it is good to see. Question is, guys, you're hearing these first reactions. First reactions do not always match up with our own experiences, but you'd rather hear good ones than bad ones. Where are you at right now? Where's your excitement level for Mandalorian right now? Jump down in the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys. That will do it for all of our main topics today. So we're going to move on to our live questions. But before we do, as we do every day, we're going to take a couple of a minute break here, give ourselves a chance to rest the vocal cords, stretch our legs, refill our drinks a little bit. So if you will hang tight with us, guys, we will be back in just 3.5 minutes and get to the live questions. I'm sure you guys have a lot to say about all the topics we just discussed. So hang tight. We will be right back. are back. Thank you guys for your patience as we took a minute there to gather ourselves back up together. And now we're going to dive into our live questions. Let's get things going. Rob, what are we starting off with?
Casinema Review says, apparently Carl Weathers and Jon Favreau are directing episodes of The Mandalorian Season 2. Favreau isn't shocking, but Weathers is. Didn't know he directed. You know, Action Jackson can do anything he damn well pleases. That's as far as I'm concerned.
Are you familiar with anything he's directed?
No. But I'm sure it's going to be awesome because, dude, everything Carl Weathers does is awesome.
All right, what's next?
What's next is Ben Rayner says, over under 30% Ben Kingsley is in Shang-Chi. Ooh, what do you think, John? I'm going to say over.
You know what? I love the line. 30%'s a good line.
Yeah.
Because it's like it could fall. Because if they said 50%, easy, under 50%, right? You go 10% easy, I'll take the over. I'm going to just go under 30%. Like, I think there is a chance. I think there is a chance, but I think 30s might be a touch high, but that's a great line to set.
Somebody has to be made an example of.
Yep. All right, what's next?
Orange Hand says, I'm sure Packers are playoff bound, but SB chances?
Not good. Look, I'm going to say the big unpopular thing. Aaron Rodgers chokes.
Oh,
sorry.
Well,
For everybody talks about, he's so great. He don't get me wrong. If I'm a GM of a football team, I'll take. There are very, very few times I won't take Aaron Rodgers, but he can't win the big games. You'd think with the way he talks that Aaron Rodgers would be like a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He's only even been to the Super Bowl once. Once. He cannot get his team. He cannot win the big games. And I don't think he's got as good of a team this year, although they're looking really good right now. They really are. But I don't think he's got as good of a team as he's had previously. And I'm sorry. No, everybody's afraid to say it. Aaron Rodgers cannot win the big games. He's proven it over and over and over again. So, I'll go Mahomes. I'll go... I think there's a lot of teams on that side of the ball that can win before them. So, playoffs, absolutely. Do I want to play them in the playoffs? No way. But do they win the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I don't think that's there. All right, what's next?
The Mandalorian of Gondor says, did you see HBO's Watchmen last night? Any thoughts?
You saw it.
I did see it. I thought... I'm going to say, as a dyed-in-the-wool Watchmen fan that's read the comic 50 times, and it is a sequel to the comic, I found it to be interesting, but I'm going to hold off on judgment until I've seen more episodes. I'm not sure. I thought the show was fascinating. I don't know if it's good Watchmen sequel material. It's up in the air for me.
All right, what's next?
Hector Jeter says, you're going to love this, John. When I went to go to see Zombieland 2 in Dolby, there was a 15-second commercial right at showtime, followed by the trailers.
Oh, God, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. Like, it's bad enough that we have like 25 to 30 minutes of trailers. Playing product ads when it's supposed to be showtime, no bueno.
Yeah, no bueno.
I'm not going to go off on it, but yeah, dude, that's infuriating. I would complain. I would honestly walk out to the manager and complain because it's like, hey, guess what? Movie said 7:30, and last night, yep, here's my receipt. I paid you $17 to be in here. What the hell are you doing showing me product ads at my showtime? Like, fix this crap. Anyway.
I know, I agree with you.
It's an issue for me. It's an issue for me. All right, what's next?
Andreas Martinez says, Aunt Vula, what do you mean he don't eat... I can't see it, cut off something meat.
He don't eat no meat.
You don't eat no meat? That's okay. I make lamb.
That is from one of my all-time... It's not even guilty pleasure, but like there are movies that aren't necessarily guilty pleasures, but they're just movies that are really close to your heart. That's from Andrea Martin in Big Fat Greek Wedding. I love that movie. Big Fat Greek Wedding is honestly, it's one of my favorite movies. It's so freaking good. And that's one of the lines. You just made my day, Andres, bringing that up in the show. I love it. Thank you very much for that. All right, what's next?
Monty P. Moneybag says, Joker fun fact. Justin Theroux appears briefly as a man named Ethan Chase.
I did not know
that. Was
that.
the actor's stage name of Zach Galifianakis in Phillips's Due Date.
Really?
Wow.
That is actually some pretty fun little movie trivia.
I like that.
That's interesting. I never would have caught that. Well done, Moneybags. I never would have caught that. Really cool thing to bring up. All right, what's next?
Winzo says, Captain Marvel walks in a bus, sees Joker. The end.
That's probably true. That's probably how that would have played out. All
I
right,
like
what's
that
next?
a lot. Mazif Yada says, Marvel movies seem to be an Avengers-level threat.
Yeah, if you ask a certain couple of the all-time great filmmakers, they might actually say that at this
Or
point.
a delightful time in the movies. Yeah. Toonie Tube says, love the new Thoughts on Walks show, John.
Thank you very much. And actually, we've got our new installment of Thoughts on Walks coming today. I was going to try to do it over the weekend, but the weekend just got too busy. So it's going to come up a little bit later today, prior to the Star Wars thing. Today on Thoughts on Walks, talking about risk and the fear of failure and how to do that. And particularly when it comes to getting involved in blogging and podcasting and things like that. But we're going to be talking, because I get a lot of questions about that. So I'm going to address that on today's Thoughts on Walks. So thanks for the encouragement. I appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Everything Entertainment says, My Unholy Trinity, Grown Ups 2, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and Disney's Home on the Range. Wow. Wow. That is an unholy trinity.
It's hard to argue. So Rob, see, my unholy trinity that I call the worst films ever made that are wide release Hollywood produced films are Catwoman, The Highlander Part 2, and Battlefield Earth. Do you have an unholy trinity of wide release Hollywood produced films?
I have a number one.
Oh.
The Specialist, with Sharon Stone and Sylvester Stallone.
Oh my gosh. All I remember from that movie is this. Remember the shower scene. I just remember the shower scene in that one.
Oh my God. And it's got a John Barry score. It perhaps might be my favorite big budget debacle, even though it's hugely enjoyable. I will watch Sharon Stone read a phone book. But man, that movie is so... It spends more time... Here's my problem with the movie. When there's a great love scene in a shower with Sharon Stone and Sylvester Stallone, the camera lingers on Stallone's muscles more than it does Sharon Stone's beautiful body.
All right.
That's all you need to know, dude.
All right, what's next?
Kevin Lewis says, do you agree there will be a biopic boon soon? Re all the drama in this administration? The Conways, Bettina the Red Sparrow, Michael Cohen, etc.
All due respect, Kev. Look, I'm not gonna get pulled into any kind of a political conversation here. We're not gonna get into that at all. Other than to say, look, the biopics have always been a very prominent thing, and biopics, there's always been of two people. Musicians, which I don't know why, but musicians and politicians. That seems to be who a lot of the biopics happen around. So wouldn't be surprised. All right, what's next?
William Carino says, I saw The Lighthouse this weekend. It was awful. Unintelligible garbage. Filmed beautifully with great performances. Major letdown. I also saw Parasite, movie from South Korea. My God, what an incredible filmmaking. What an incredible story, script, plot, etc. Go see it if you can. By the way, I'm seeing The Lighthouse tonight, and I couldn't be more excited, John.
But you know what the funny thing is about Lighthouse is that, when we saw the trailers, one of the things we talked about on this show was that this movie is clearly not for everybody.
Right.
I mean, the very auteur kind of approach they took to it, it was not going to appeal to everybody. I mean, that was just clear. So I'm not surprised to hear that there are audiences who went to go see it and it doesn't work for them. I haven't seen it yet myself either. I'm going to see it in the next couple of days. But I'm not surprised to hear this at all. So thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, William. I appreciate that, man. All right, what's next?
Tacky75 says, I love both guys, but they sound like sore losers. Where were they when Michael Bay was soiling movie screens with his Transformers masterpieces? That's actually a really good point, John. I mean, why attack the Marvel movies, which are so beloved around the world, and not something like Transformers?
But why attack anything?
Well, yeah.
When you're a filmmaker... Again, leave it to the audiences to dictate this. Leave it to critics whose job it is to do this kind of stuff. You're a filmmaker. Stay out of that. Stay out of that. Especially when you're a revered filmmaker, especially when you're doing it unprovoked. To just come out and start crapping on other creators' work, I just find it really bush league and it lacks a lot of class. And I'm glad they didn't do it with the Transformers movies. Leave that up to the rest of us to do it to the Transformers movies. But, Miyazaki, it is what it is. And hopefully we won't have to talk about it anymore. Fingers crossed at any rate.
Mazif Jada says, best movie quote, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain.
See yourself become the villain.
See yourself become
it is
the
a
villain.
great. I don't know that I'd put it in my top 10 best all-time movie lines, but it is a great line in that movie, particularly when it's said and how it's said.
Love it.
All right, what's next?
I want to say Hoser. Joser Mates says Bloodshot trailer was Drop Dead trailer was dropped. It looks interesting. It does look interesting, but as we said, it looks too much like a bunch of other different movies, don't you think?
And not a lot of selling features to it. Again, visually interesting. I didn't particularly dislike the trailer either. And it is just a first trailer, so we'll see. But I will admit right now, it didn't move the needle.
First to the Valiant comic universe, though. Pretty interesting.
It could be significant.
Could be good. Willow Yang is here. If you can only watch one director's filmography, Coppola or Scorsese, I think Coppola has higher highs, but Scorsese seems more consistent. Look, I got to go with Coppola because Godfather 1 and 2 and 3 and Apocalypse Now are movies I could watch forever.
I completely agree with Willow on this. The higher highs. Godfather, I think Godfather 1 and 2 are better than anything Scorsese's made. But Scorsese has made so much incredibly high-level, excellent stuff and very diverse, to a degree, stuff that... And it's all I could. If it was for a weekend, I'd take the Coppola films. But if it's like for the next 5 years, I can only either watch Coppola or Scorsese stuff, I'll probably go with Scorsese because of the sheer volume of quality that he has.
It's true.
But no wrong answer there, I don't think. All right, what's next?
Luke1234 says, could we super chat Barney's sing-along songs that will subvert expectations? And could you sing or say it in the Barney style?
You weren't here for that, were you, when we talked about that?
Like, what?
Yeah, so they're coming out with a Barney live-action movie.
Yeah.
And one of the producers is Get Out's Daniel Kaluuya. And he come out, and the president of Marvel, and full disclosure, half of my household income comes from Hasbro. So full disclosure on that. But one of the execs at Marvel came out and said, our interpretation of this is going to surprise audiences by subverting expectations. I'm like, it's a Barney movie. What are you going to do? Subvert expectations. All this kind of nonsense. But no, you will never, I don't care how big the super chat is. Unless I'm doing it for charity, I will not be singing any lyrics to the Barney songs, just so you know. All right, what's next?
Kevin Lewis says, ever see What's Up Tiger Lily? Woody Allen dubs a Japanese movie. Yes, and it is hilarious.
That's like from 66 or something like that.
It's hilarious.
I never did watch that one. I've watched almost every other Woody Allen movie. I've never seen that. Okay, interesting. What's next?
James Germain says, hey, John, Bloodshot trailer. That's messed up. Is it?
I don't know if it was messed up. I mean, I just thought it was there.
Yeah.
You know? Again, very interesting visual technique with the nanotech and stuff like that, but I just kind of thought it was there. I didn't find anything particularly messed up about it yet. We'll see what happens when the next one comes out.
Kevin Lewis says, is The Man in the High Castle any good? I think it is, and I'm really looking forward to the new season, which is its last season.
Is that AMC? Or sorry, Amazon?
Yes.
I've never seen it.
You should watch it. It's
Everybody's told me that.
It's about an alternate universe where the Axis powers won World War II, and America has been split between Japan and Germany, and it's really interesting. Based on a science fiction novel.
I've heard nothing but good things about it, but I've just never had time to watch it. I'm going to have to watch that one of these days. All right, what's next?
Jake C says, Marvel's just as much the same over and over again as the Godfather sequels are. Same characters, tone, themes, and styles. Is that not hypocritical? I can't go with you there. I think Godfather 2 is a very different movie than Godfather 1 is. But I understand what you mean.
And I think one of the most misused terms today is the term hypocrite or hypocritical. I think a lot of people have forgotten what that actually means. To truly be hypocritical means you actively preach against something while you actively engage in that same something behind closed doors. That's hypocritical. Scorsese clearly, or Coppola, does not see it that way. They don't see that their films are the same. You may see it that way, but they don't. There has to be a knowing, like the idea of like I'll completely say that I don't know what's the thing. you're a vile, evil person if you drink soda out of, what do you call this? Teal? Is this a kind of, I don't know. Let's say teal forever. You're a vile, wicked, evil person. Only the rottenest of the rotten would drink soda from a teal cup. And then meanwhile, I'm drinking from a teal cup, fully knowing I'm drinking from a teal cup. That's hypocritical. Having some things where you say you don't like that movie, but you like this one. That makes you a hypocrite. No, because I see them as two different ones. You may not, but I do. So it's not hypocritical. So no, I don't see anything hypocritical there. I don't think there's a hypocrisy issue here. I just think there's a lack of class issue from two very classy guys, and I think this sort of thing is beneath them. So.
The irony is, I would kill to see a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie directed by either one of them.
Oh my God, yes.
Jake C says, I love both, by the way. Me too.
Oh yeah,
I love them
absolutely.
both.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Edgar Magana says, early Terminator reactions are good. So hype. Me too. I can't wait.
Dude, considering how many question marks we've had going into this and the up and down with the marketing campaign, it's nice to hear that people are liking it. Whether we will or not, we'll have to wait and see, but it's at least a good thing to hear some positive buzz coming out about. So, again, saying it's the best Terminator since Terminator 2 ain't saying much.
Right.
But at least it's positive. At least it's positive.
Edgar Magana says, Terminator 2 is the best action film of all time. It's pretty good, but I don't know if it's the best.
I'm comfortable in saying it's one of the greatest action films of all time.
Yes.
I'll say that very comfortably. I wouldn't put it in the number one spot myself, but it's up there.
Suthius is here. Hey guys, just saw the Bloodshot trailer. I'm confused. Any resemblance of the character I saw when I was in the cloud of white powder and red lightning? I don't know.
Any resemblance of the character I saw was when he was in the cloud of white powder and red lightning.
In terms
I'm not
of
quite
looking
sure what it
like,
is.
well, the character doesn't exactly look like he looks in the comics.
No, but that's fine. I mean, let's be honest. 99.99% of the people who saw this trailer today have never read a Bloodshot comic,
right.
or even aware that
Or
such
don't
a
even
thing
know
exists.
what Valiant is.
No, exactly. So, I mean, and I've always said this, the job of a director of these types of movies is not to make a movie that's as close to the source material as possible. Their first job is to make the best movie possible.
Yeah.
And let's see if they accomplish that or not. We'll see. We'll see. Again, I wasn't thrilled with it either, but we'll see how it turns out.
Bullet 1510 says, wow, busy watching two cinematic titans turn into petulant man babies. They make the so-called Marvel DC corporate zombie slaves look good.
Yeah, and that's, look, that's part of the thing that distraughts me so much. If this was a couple of jackasses coming out and talk, like, that's why when remember Bill Maher came out and said something against, I think it was against comic book movies, can't remember exactly what it is. My big thing was, who cares? Who cares what Bill Maher says? Who cares what some television talk show host says about movies? He's not a movie personality. He's not in this industry. Why are we talking about what Bill Maher says? So I just didn't care. It wasn't worth talking about. Oh, Bill Maher, how do you pronounce his stupid last name? Scorsese and Coppola are revered. They are two of the best to ever do it, and will always be two of the best that have ever done it. And that's what makes it particularly troubling. When you see guys that you revere so much acting with I believe is a lot of lack of class. Anyway, what's next?
Suthius says, Hot Toys pre-order up for season 1 and 2 Flash figure. I did see that. I don't know if I'm going to bust on it, though.
Weren't you just telling me today when you walked in that you have just ordered a new one?
Count Dooku.
Oh, that's the one.
Count
That's
Dooku.
the one. Oh, very
Which is
nice.
available, but I gotta.
Not the greatest character, but man, Christopher Lee looks cool in that role.
And that Hot Toys figure is badass, and it pairs with that Yoda. Or, I mean, come on, who doesn't want Count Dooku?
All right, what's next?
Bullet 1510 says, Scorsese, I'm going to double down on my ill-informed and inflammatory Marvel comments. Coppola, hold my beer.
Again, it's the escalation of it. Like, we've gone from, hey, they're not really cinema, they're more whatever, but as well as they're made, to they're invaders, we got to knock some of them off our screens, to they're despicable. I mean, it's just, what's next? How are they going to ramp it up next? That's the thing that worries me most. I'm just waiting for them to say anybody who likes these movies are stupid. I'm just waiting for that. Francis Ford Coppola came very close. Now, he didn't say it, but he came close. Like, I just want to bring this up here again quickly. You know, when we go see a movie, we expect to learn something from cinema. We expect to gain something, some enlightenment, some knowledge, some inspiration. I don't know what anyone gets out of seeing this same movie over and over again. This is clearly somebody who's not watched these movies. But they're getting dangerously close, and that's the next step. And I really hope they stop before they get there. Anyway, that's just me. All right, what's next?
Suthia says, a clip from 2002 Drumline with Nick Cannon, I like that movie, popped up in my Facebook feed. One, I forgot that Zoe Saldana was in it. And two, she looks exactly the same, has not aged. By the way, I like Drumline a lot.
I know I've seen it, but I have no recollection of it. I have none, but I know that I saw it.
Yeah.
Zoe Saldana, by the way, I've had the privilege of meeting her a couple of times, and she is so sweet, because it's all lies. I know it's all lies. It's kind of like, you know, the guys who think the strippers actually like them. No. But seriously, not all actors go out of their way when these, you know, these junket monkeys, which is what we used to call ourselves, is you go to the junkets, go through the ringer, go to the same process doing the junkets. A bunch of us used to call ourselves junket monkeys. A lot of actors, and we don't blame them for that, because they're sitting in the chair getting the same questions from everybody for 8 hours a day. They're just like, hey, let's just get through the interview, and they're polite and they're nice, and nothing wrong with that. But every once in a while, you get some performers that pretend, and they make you feel like, I'm so glad you're here to talk to me about my movie. I know it's a lie. I know they've got to be tired and their voices have got to be hoarse by this point, and they've been sitting in the same chair under the same lights for 6 or 7 hours. I get it. But Zoe Saldana is one of those people who feels like, you know what? This person did come out to interview me, to talk to me about my movie. And I'm going to make them feel like I'm glad they're here.
Yeah.
And there's something nice about that. And I've always liked her. Sorry, that went on longer than I expected it to. All right, what's next?
Suthia says, Donald Logue is someone who I enjoy seeing.
Love him in Sons of Anarchy.
Pop up in movies and shows from time to time. Blade, Zodiac, Sons of Anarchy, Vikings, and now in Stumptown.
Oh, really? I'll tell you what, I'm 2 episodes into Stumptown. I had a bunch of people write into the show and say, because, you know, good Canadian kid Colby Smulders, who's also in the MCU. She's got a new show out called Stumptown. I don't think it's going to get a season 2, just to be honest with you. But I had a bunch of people write and say it was pretty good. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and I'm like, yeah, this has got some potential. It's got some potential. So he hasn't popped up as of my second view. I think they're on episode 4 now, but I haven't seen that. Have you had a chance to watch it all yet, Ron?
No, but I've met the showrunner, Jason Richmond, who created it, and it's based on a graphic novel, but I want to see it. I haven't seen it yet.
All right.
Nikolai Cosmin sends in a super chat.
Oh, thank you, Nikolai.
Thank you for Nikolai. Darth Sith, very generous super chat. Saw Hobbs and Shaw last night, and as much as it was way over the top, I loved it. And the team they are building, can't wait for a sequel. Love the show and crew you're working. Best show on the internet. Keep up the amazing work. Well, you know what, Dark Sith. Dark Sith, I want to thank you for that, and thank you for the encouragement and the super chat.
Dude, it's always nice when people just want to write in and say something nice. So thank you so much for that, dude. We appreciate that very much. As far as Hobbs and Shaw goes, this is exactly the feeling I got coming out of it. I had a really good time. It ain't Shakespeare. It ain't the Citizen Kane of the Fast and Furious franchise. But it was just enjoyable. And I'll tell you what, I had no idea Ryan Reynolds was in it. None. And his interaction with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was crazy. And they've already both basically confirmed that their plans for the next Hobbs and Shaw is to incorporate Ryan Reynolds in more. And I just want to see those two on screen together. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it topped the chemistry that he had with Jason Statham, but it topped it in terms of comedic interaction.
Right.
The Statham stuff was just cool. Seeing these two guys together doing it and fighting Idris Elba was great. But the stuff they did with Ryan Reynolds was incredible. You might make the argument that they've crossed universes and it was actually Wade Wilson. You could make that argument, but it was funny. It was really. What? I don't know. What did you? Was it a little too much,
you know what?
or?
Here's the thing. As much as I speak about Justice for Han and all that, I did find the movie quite enjoyable. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It's over the top. Look, to me, Fast Five. I think Fast Five could be a documentary, and this was way, way, way over the top. I was way over the top, but it was fun. It was fun, and I would go see another one of these movies. And I did love Ryan Reynolds in it. And like you said, the only reason I knew that he was in it was because it was spoiled for me. But it was a great surprise. I like the fact that it was kept totally under wraps before the movie came out.
And I don't know how they did it. That's
No.
crazy. All right, what's next?
Pablo Diablo says, Barney is a T-Rex. The T stands for tantric.
Okay, so you weren't here when we talked about this.
Oh, but it's funny anyway.
Here's where it's from. So, it's true story.
Uh-oh.
This is 100% true. The actor who played Barney, he is now a professional tantric sex guru who, for $350 a session, will give you multiple orgasms. That's how he advertised it. He's the master of tantric sex. You pay him $350, and you come to him, and he's a male prostitute. But I guess they're calling it something different. They call it tantric sex expert guru. So it's like, hey, you want to subvert expectations? There's some stuff you can do right there.
Wow.
That'll subvert expectations. All right, what's next?
Sam O'Neill says, hi, John. Return of the Jedi is playing on the big screen with John Williams soundtrack played live by the Queensland Symphony Orchestra. Is this similar to the one you went to recently, and did you enjoy it?
It is magnificent. Now, look, that's different from the annual John Williams concert. At the Hollywood Bowl, they have an annual John Williams, the Maestro of the Movies concert, which he actually participates in less and less every year. He used to do the whole show. Mm-hmm. Then he started doing the second half of the show. Like, he would get David Williams or David Newman, who is Alfred Newman's son. And, of course, John Williams mentored under Alfred Newman. Would conduct the first half, and then John Williams would come out and conduct the second half. Then this year, David Newman conducted the first half of the show, and then after the intermission, conducted the first half of the second half. And then John Williams came out and did 5 or 6 numbers. So he's been doing it less and less and less. But then this is totally separate thing where, yeah, they play the movie on screen. We also went to the Hollywood Bowl, and they played Empire Strikes Back, the movie, without the soundtrack. And then have the Los Angeles orchestra there playing the music along with it live. It's awesome. I've gone to about 5 or 6 of these things, and it's always a great time. So absolutely, Sam, if you've got the opportunity to go check that out, it's a wonderful, wonderful time. Go and enjoy, my friend.
Sam O'Neill says, also watched Netflix new TV show with Paul Rudd, and I was so hooked I watched it all in one sitting. I would highly recommend it. I too watched that this weekend with my girlfriend Elizabeth.
Really?
Yes, and it is a lot of fun.
It's called Living with Myself, right?
Living with myself, or living with, I think so.
Anyway.
It's really interesting and really funny, and I really liked it. I don't know about the ending, though. The ending was a little... I'm curious to hear what people think.
Well, look, I love Paul Rudd. I thought the trailer looks great. I know Ann loves Paul Rudd, so we're going to sit down and watch this.
You guys will like it.
All right, thanks for the
recommendation. And
recommendation.
it goes down really fast, though. You start watching, the same thing happened. You watch the whole thing.
All right, let's just take a couple more here.
Noel Wen says, I would have been pissed if I wanted to see a screening of T2 in theaters, but got duped for an early screening of Dark Fate. Bad marketing move. For those of you who don't know, they had a screening where people thought they were going to see T2 with an extended trailer for Dark Fate, and it was a Dark Fate screening, and the cast showed up. That happened over the weekend. Yeah.
Really? I didn't hear about this.
Yeah. Come on, though. That would have been... If you've already seen T2, you're going to see it because you also want to see Dark Fate. If you got to see Dark Fate, all of Dark Fate, and the cast shows up, come on. Who wouldn't love that?
I got to tell you, Noel, I mean, look, I don't like misleading marketing. I don't like misleading marketing. But that said, like, if you told me I was going to go see my all-time favorite Star Wars movie, a screening of Return of the Jedi, and like tonight, and I got there, and it's like, by the way, we're not showing you that. We're showing you Star Wars Episode 9, and by the way, the cast is here. There was a momentary disappointment that I don't get to see Return of the Jedi for the 5,000th time, but it gets quickly replaced. It's like it's okay if you want to do a bait and switch, but you're like, if I thought I was buying a 35-inch HD TV, but the delivery guy shows up with an 85-inch 4K TV with surround sound system, okay, that's a bait and switch, but it was a bait and switch in our favor.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think I would have been pretty hyped. I would have been
too. Come on, who wouldn't have been stoked for that? Sam says, Jojo Rabbit was amazing. It was more than a comedy. It had some serious heart. Plus, after the screening during the Q&A, Taika signed my Funko Pop.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
I have not had a chance to see Jojo Rabbit yet. It's the #1 film on Anne's list. So that's the next movie we got to go see. So that is the next movie we're seeing. Obviously, it's not tonight because I got to watch The Patriots and I got to watch the Star Wars trailer. So it won't be tonight, but probably tomorrow night I'll get a chance to go. I know you haven't had a chance to see Jojo yet,
No,
right?
but to me, it's light. I'm all about The Lighthouse tonight, and then I'll probably go tomorrow.
All right. What's next?
Next is Jonathan Teft says, last week I asked you if I should see Maleficent or Zombieland. I saw neither and instead rewatched Man from U.N.C.L.E. Probably
Nice.
the best movie no one saw in the theater the last few years. Would love to see a sequel, dude. I love Man from U.N.C.L.E. It is so good. They're having so much fun. I love the evocation of the 60s. It's such a great movie. I would love a sequel too.
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic movie. And now I can't remember which studio did it.
It's Warner Brothers.
It is Warner. Okay. So I saw it on the Warner lot. I just remember I saw it on the lot of the studio. So I saw it at the Warner lot. And I still remember which screening I was at and which theater they showed it in on the Warner lot. They've got this one screening room that's at like on the top floor of this 3-story old building, right? And I went in there and Harloff was there too. Harloff and Ellis were there too. And we went out and I came out and I was giddy. I had so much fun with that movie. I thought it was great. And I thought the chemistry between Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer was fantastic. You throw in there a British dude who was married to Elizabeth.
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant, thank you. You threw in Hugh Grant was great. All the performances were wonderful. It had great pace, great comedic timing, legitimate stakes.
Great action scenes too.
The action scenes were great. I love that movie.
I do
and
too.
nobody went to go see it. Nobody went to go see it. And it's like, dude, this should have been a new franchise. This
Yeah.
should have been one where we got a new Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie every 2 years. It could have been awesome, but people didn't support it. It's really too bad because I thought that movie was fantastic.
Me too.
All right, last one for you, Rob, before you got to split.
Brett WB says, watched Anna and the Apocalypse yesterday, something I really want to see. Such a great movie, wildly entertaining, highly recommended for anyone who hasn't seen it. In my top 10 now.
I understand it's a little weird to have somebody tell you, let's go see this movie that is a zombie apocalypse movie crossed with La La Land, and it's a musical. I
right
get
up
it.
my alley.
What's that?
Right up my alley.
See, no, to me, that sounds stupid.
No, come on.
I'm going to be honest. It sounds dumb.
You're the song and dance man.
Yeah, but that sounds like a really dumb combination. I'll be honest. That sounds dumb. It's really delightful.
Is that on Netflix?
Oh, I don't know where you can find it right now. It is. You can get it. You can find it somewhere.
I'll get the Blu-ray if it's good.
It's really delightful. I mean, look, to me, it's no Shaun of the Dead, but it's a delightful little movie, much better than where my expectations were. Because I heard good things about it. But just the concept of it was so, to me, stupid. And then I saw, I'm like, and that's why you check your expectations at the door when you finally watch a movie. You can think a movie's going to be good or bad, but then you got to leave that at the door. You got to put that aside when you actually sit down to watch it. And that's why, because it was really a pleasant surprise to me. Anyway, Rob, thank you so much, dude, for being here again today. We'll,
good
of
to be
course,
here.
see you again tomorrow. But you're off to do your important Hollywood-like things. Being an
yes.
editor, you got a couple of projects on the go right now. But anyway, where can people find you online?
Well, first of all, you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and my show, Robservations, the show about something. You can always find me there.
All right, Rob, thanks for being here, dude, and we will see you again tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, everybody, we still got about a half hour here, so we're going to keep on rolling through the live questions that you guys have sent in. Let's keep things going here with Ryan Lohner, who writes, George Lucas's biographer, Brian J. Jones, on Twitter. Francis, you directed Captain EO. I brought that up earlier. Have a seat. Listen, Francis also directed some pretty scandalous, kind of like adult movies earlier in his career. However, that being said, just because he himself has made some bad movies in the past, that doesn't disqualify him from having an opinion. Again, I don't begrudge Francis Ford Coppola for having an opinion that he doesn't like comic book movies. I just find it to be really classless that they've been mounting this campaign against a genre of movie that a lot of people will love, and instead of just being classy and saying, hey, you know what, I watch them, I don't really like them, they're not for me. Really ratcheting up and intensifying the verbiage, and now like going from, hey, not really cinema, to they're invaders, to they're despicable, to it's really unfortunate. But I don't think that just because he himself has made from some bad movies in the past, which everybody has, that doesn't disqualify him from having an opinion, though. Superman Steve writes, wow, how sick does that trailer for Bloodshot look? I can't wait for that movie. I gotta be honest with you, Steve, I didn't have that same experience. It's awesome you did. I wish I did. Now, again, I didn't think there was anything particularly bad about the trailer. Not at all. It's just that I didn't see anything to get me hooked. But again, it's just a first trailer. We'll see how they progress. It's Vin Diesel, so I'm on board by automatically I'm on board. But we'll just see how it goes from there. All right, Static Space Sean writes, update on Accountant 2. I got to meet John Bernthal yesterday, and he said they're working on it, but the biggest obstacle is getting everyone's schedules together. P.S. He's one of the nicest guys. Yeah, that's really not anything new. We've known for a while that there is interest in doing it. We've known for a while that the studio was very big on the first one. They feel like there's potential for another one. But, the thing they always go back to is scheduling. And let's put it this way. If Warner Brothers was really serious about Accountant 2, and like deadly serious about it, the scheduling issues would have been worked out by now. I think they're still big on it. I still think they'd like to do it, but I don't think it's something that's high on their priority list right now. And whereas before I was excited, I'm starting to get skeptical that it's ever going to happen. And again, we were just talking about Man from U.N.C.L.E. I love The Accountant. Accountant is so good. It's a different kind of movie for that genre. I ate that movie up. I would love to see another one, particularly with Affleck and Bernthal together again. I would love to see that. I'm starting to lose a little bit of hope, though. I'm starting to lose hope. Hopefully, they'll renew my hope. All right, Anthony Cullen writes, trailer today makes sense. It's Carrie's birthday. Again, something very poetic about that, Anthony. And I mean, they could have shown this trailer earlier. Maybe even they should have shown it earlier. But there's something very poetically right about doing it and dropping out on Carrie's birthday. The Darman writes, I want to thank you all for inspiring me. Thank you so much for saying that. This week I start working my own series that clarifies big movie stories on top of my MA. I'm assuming that's educational pursuits. Let's plays and writing my own novel. Work hard and working full time at Target. Be nice to retail. Well, good on you, Darman. Listen, one of the things that I'm always trying to recommend and encourage people to do is to get involved. I mean, it's easier today than ever to start a blog, start a podcast, do a YouTube channel, whatever, and add your voice to the conversation. I think more people need to add their voice to the conversation. And, you don't have to, it doesn't matter if you have 5 people reading your work or 25 people listening to your podcast or 2,500 people watching. It doesn't matter. I just think it's always good for the fandom to have more people adding their voice to the conversation. And that means you got to do it around. I remember, dude, listen, when I was doing the movie blog, I was working in a law firm, going to school, and still putting in 3 to 4 hours a day on my website, the movie blog. I had no time for anything else. I mean, I really did. That was it. I was just working constantly, but I was passionate about it, right? And that's what it takes. So anyway, good on you, Darman, and thanks for sharing that, dude. All right, Tony Lamar writes, will Emperor Palpatine show up in the final trailer? Again, don't know. I'm guessing they will. Rob seems absolutely certain. That they will. I feel good that they will. We'll find out in just a few hours. All right. Michael Delalo writes, hey, John. Firstly, I want to say that you're a legend. Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I love your videos. My question is, do you think there will be a Man of Steel 2? Thanks. Unfortunately, no, I don't think there will be. Now, you all know what I think about Man of Steel. I think it is the most underrated comic book movie ever made. I love this movie. And I want them to do another one. But no, I think we are not going to see Henry Cavill as Superman again. And I think they're going to kind of do what they're doing with Batman. I think they're going to kind of soft reboot the character, whichever way they go, I don't think we're going to get a Man of Steel 2. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It could still happen, but my guess right now is that no, it won't. Miguel Zayn writes, hey, John. Oh, sorry, that's Michael. Found out that for The Dark Knight Rises, Nolan wanted Riddler as one of the villains, and the studio really wanted DiCaprio to be cast. I mean, Leo as Riddler. Wow. You know what, Miguel, it's one of my favorite fun bits of conversations is always around what almost happened with the movie. You know, whether it was Tom Selleck was almost Indiana Jones, Will Smith was almost Neo, these types of things, that there was actually some conversations at some point of Leo DiCaprio being in a Christopher Nolan, and of course DiCaprio did go on to work with Christopher Nolan after that, but DiCaprio in a Christopher Nolan Batman film? I mean, we got a pretty good one, but I mean, that could have been, just think about it, dude. All right, Jared Oberfeld writes, you guys can wait in Fandango's virtual line. I'll get my Star Wars ticket at the theater. Should I spell it theater or theater? Technically speaking, the proper way to spell it is the last two letters are R-E. Actually, AMC Theaters spell it R-E. So, I mean, but either way is correct. That's fine. And guess what? It's funny you say that, Jared, because just before we started the show, I was talking to Chris and Rob, and I was just saying that I'm going to go watch the Patriot game at this outdoor patio place in downtown Burbank. And I am at some point going to then get up and just walk 5 minutes up the street to the AMC Burbank 16 and just buy my tickets there. Because I remember when the Endgame tickets went on sale, and frustratingly waiting for hours and hours and hours in a digital queue, I had a bunch of you guys write to me and say, you know what I did? I just went to the theater and bought my tickets. Done. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take your guys' advice this year. So I'm probably just going to go up to the movie theater myself and just buy the tickets. All right, DC Marvel writes, hey, John, I think 2020, 2021 will be amazing for the comic book genre. So many movies that I'm excited about. I mean, look, there's a lot of potential. Particularly, even if we just look at 2020, there's some interesting potential there. Like, it all depends how much some of these movies live up to their potential, right? Morbius has a lot of potential, but will it live up to it? Venom 2 has a lot of potential. Will it live up to it? Eternals has a ton of potential, but will it live up to it? Black Widow has potential. Will it live up to it? Wonder Woman 84, which I think my guess right now will probably be the best comic book movie of the year. That's my guess because of Patty Jenkins directing. But will it live up to that potential? A lot of potential there. We just got to see if it actually lives up to that potential. But we do got some good stuff coming, that's for sure. All right, DC Marvel also writes, also, Warner Brothers is making a Scooby-Doo movie in 2020. How come nobody's talking about it? I thought for sure it would, since the cartoon was so popular. Well, I mean, a couple of things. Number one, the Scooby-Doo franchise has basically been running to the ground. Hold a second. Movie release date. I just got to pull up the... plus, I don't think it's till like April or May. Yeah, here it is. May 15th is when it's supposed to come out. So we're in October, November, December, January, February, March, April. The movie's still 7 months away. It's 7 months away. It's for a cartoon that was like came out even before my time. And it's kind of been run into the ground with some terrible stuff they did in recent memory. Although the supernatural Scooby-Doo crossover was amazing. So I don't see why we would expect this movie to get big buzz. Not to mention it's still 7 months away, so there's nothing to talk about yet. So we'll see what happens once they actually start dropping trailers, 3 or 4 months from now. All right. Next up, Mark Josepher writes, my top 11. I like that you're going 11. Star Wars, the original trilogy. Bridge on the River Kwai. Love that one. Blazing Saddles, one of the greatest comedies ever. Spaceballs, also one of the greatest comedies. Couple of Mel Brooks specials in there. Shawshank Redemption. Groundhog Day. Don't see that one on the list a lot. Don't see a lot of Groundhog Day in the list. Ran, one of the most... Like, everybody always talks about samurai and some other things. Ran is one of Kurosawa's most celebrated films. I don't think I've seen anybody else put that on the list before. Fifth Element, Empire of the Sun, Apollo 13, and Basic. For me, guys, I'm going to have a Halls in my mouth for the rest of the show because I'm starting to cough a little bit here. I haven't seen Basic. Anybody put that on? So, Mark, good on you for a couple of ones. I love that you got River Kwai in there. I love they got Empire Sun. I love they got Basic in there. A lot of really unique ones in there, and always good when you can throw in a couple of Mel Brooks ones as well. Thanks for sharing that, Mark. Good list. All right. Riley Ostoge writes, "You're a very positive role model for me, John, and I just wanted to thank you for that. You deserve every bit of success you have. Keep it going, my man." Oh, thank you so much, dude. It's always nice when somebody just wants to write in something to say something nice. So thank you. You just made me feel special today. So thank you so much for that, man. Riley also follows up and writes, "Also, I took your World of Warcraft advice and made a warrior character. Absolutely loving it so far. Maybe I'll see you in Azeroth one of these days." So I guess it was Riley or somebody else asked, if you wanted to just get into World of Warcraft, what class should you start with? And I said, honestly, if you've never played an MMO before, just a good straight warrior character, dude with a sword, that's probably the best way to start. So it sounds like Riley took my advice on that, and it's always good when we can enjoy a video game you're playing. All right. Tom Wyenberg writes, said this weekend I was watching Molly's Game and I loved it. Great script, of course, because it's Sorkin. But Sorkin's direction was really good too. Costner and Chastain scene in the park was a definite highlight for me. You know, we talked about this last week. I thought Molly's Game was tragically overlooked by the Academy. Now, I'm not saying it should have won a bunch of the awards, but I honestly thought there were a number of categories that I thought Molly's Game should have gotten nominations. I thought it should have been nominated for Best Picture. I thought Sorkin's script was fantastic. Chastain was brilliant in it. Sorkin, I believe that was his first time directing. I believe that was Aaron Sorkin's directorial debut, and he did a great job with it. I just top to bottom, Tom, I thought it was, and you're right, that scene with them sitting on that bench, wonderful scene. Great dynamics, two fantastic actors, and I just, a little bit of my heart belongs to Jessica Chastain. I just got to say that. All right, James Wheeler writes, "Watched The Lighthouse over the weekend. Favorite movie of the year. Passion was amazing." Look, we just had somebody write in earlier saying they thought it was completely terrible. Now we got somebody else saying it's their favorite movie of the year. Goes right in line with what I was thinking. This is going to be a movie of opinions. It is not going to be for everybody. There are going to be some people that hated it, and I think there's going to be some people that really, it's what they're looking for and they're going to love it. I'm going to be interested to find out which side of that fence I fall on, but I'm glad you enjoyed it, man, and I'll look forward to sharing my thoughts once I have a chance to see it. All right, Tom Wyenberg writes, "Sorkin's characters sometimes talk way too fast for me to follow, maybe because English is my second language, but somehow I still get how they feel and where they are in the story. Props to Sorkin for that." He's the best screenwriter in the business today. I mean, that's just it. Sorkin is the best screenwriter in the business today, I believe. There are many, many great screenwriters. I think Sorkin's the best. And when you go all the way back to even like West Wing, he's definitely got a cadence to his dialogue with characters, but it works so well for me. And you're right. Amidst the words, he finds a way to make sure the scenes really emote what it is he's trying to get across to the audience. And so, yeah, I just think the guy's a terrific wordsmith, and that was evident in Molly's Game. I'm glad you liked it, Tom. I'm glad you liked it. All right, Croc1513 writes, "Saw Joker, acting is amazing, but the directing wasn't great, and the scripting was mixed at best, which hurt it for me. Definitely not as good as Logan." Well, yeah. Look, I love Joker. It's my favorite comic book movie of the year, but I don't think it's as good as Logan. Because whereas I think Joker is the best comic book movie this year, Logan I thought was the best movie of the year, period. And everybody will have different opinions about that, and that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I personally thought the direction was solid. I thought it was really solid, and I thought the script was fantastic. But that's the subjectivity of film, man. We're all going to see it. We're going to see the same thing, but we're going to experience it in different ways. And some things worked for you, some things didn't. That's perfectly fine. All right. Night Furious writes, "Among the Scorsese Coppola noise, I'm curious, have you come across Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's column on the matter? More nuanced perspective, I think. I've heard that there was something, but I feel, look, all due respect to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who I just met a few months ago, by the way. All due respect to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I feel the same way about him giving an opinion as Bill Maher giving an opinion. Who cares? I don't care what some sports superstar has to say about something in the movie industry. I just don't. I didn't care what Bill Maher thought about it. I don't really care what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar says about it. Now, if Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wants to give an opinion about basketball, he'll have my full undivided attention. But, and I'm not saying he can't give an opinion on movies. I'm just saying me as a film fan, I'm not really all that interested in what a sports figure has to say about the movie business. Maybe I should feel more about that, but I just don't. All right. Harry Mudd writes, watched the first episode of Watchmen today. I really liked it. Very strong start. Made me believe in the show as a whole. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch it because Ann and I were busy last night. I have not watched it yet. I'll probably try to squeeze it in today. This afternoon, I'll see if I can give it a watch. I know Rob wasn't thrilled with it. So I'm going to be curious to see how I feel about it too. But I've been very curious about the show ever since they announced it. So thanks for giving your opinion. It's nice to know that you liked it, man. All right. Mighty Tank 1 writes, what's the worst disaster, Gemini Man or Hellboy? I'm going to go Gemini Man. Because if I'm not mistaken, hold a second. Hellboy didn't cost anywhere near as much. Yeah, the budget on Hellboy was like 1/3 of what the budget of Gemini Man was. So I'm going to go, so their financial risk was a much more limited. So they're both films that didn't work, unfortunately, but I'm going to say that the bigger disaster is Gemini Man. Jesse writes, saw Double Tap this weekend, and while it's no Citizen Kane, I had a lot of fun with it. No spoilers, but the fight in the motel was extremely entertaining. Yeah, look, I liked the first Zombieland. But unlike a lot of people, I didn't love it. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I quite enjoyed Double Tap. I thought Double Tap was more entertaining than the first one. Now, again, it's no Shakespeare. I mean, there's not a very good script. It's not a very good plot. There is no plot, really. There's no character development. Whatever. It is a movie of moments. But those moments are grin-inducing, laugh-inducing, smile. I mean, it's an entertaining film, and I walked out of Zombieland Double Tap very entertained. And so I liked it for what it was. I'm glad you did too, Jesse. All right. Jesse also writes, also thought you should know that Letterkenny is going live on tour and will be in Vegas on April 18th. Well, I am enjoying Letterkenny. And I do like going to Vegas, so I just might have to squeeze that one. I had no idea about that. Thank you for putting that on my radar, Jesse, because I very well may take advantage of that and go see that. All right. Daniel Weiss writes, this weekend I watched Batman and Robin, Lady in the Water, and The Last Airbender. Do you ever watch bad movies just out of morbid curiosity? No. I mean, look, unless it's a movie I haven't seen yet, because then I at least got to know what everybody's talking about. But I don't generally, I've never gone back and watched Lady in the Water again. And I've never gone back to watch The Last Airbender again. When there's a movie I know that's just terrible and I dislike it, there's too many things that are good to watch. Why would I spend my time watching things I already know I don't like, you know? It's like going to a restaurant and ordering a dish you already know you tried and didn't like. Like, why do that to yourself? So I don't. But man, that sounds like an interesting weekend, dude, watching those three. All right. Brian Clark sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Brian, for supporting the channel on that level, man. We all appreciate it here. Took the kids on Saturday to the opening of Avengers Damage Control, the new VR experience at the Void. By the way, I've gone to the Void many times for their Star Wars one and for their Wreck-It Ralph one. They're both a lot of fun. Anyway, at the Void in downtown Disney, you suit up in Stark / Wakandan suits and joined the Avengers on a mission. It was sick. Lots of surprises. I've actually got, I live in Burbank, California. About a 10-minute drive up the road from me is Glendale, California. And in Glendale, at the Glendale Galleria, they have a Void outlet there. And that's where Ann and I have gone to do the Star Wars one and stuff like that. And we do it every once in a while. So I think tomorrow night, Ann and I are going to have to drive up the road there and go do this new Damage Control. Because I do love the Void. Guys, if you ever get a chance, I don't know how many there are around the country, but if you get a chance to go to one of these things called the Void, it's a VR experience where you're walking around in a maze and you got the full VR headset on. It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to trying it out myself. Brian, thank you so much for the recommendation, man. You just made me even more excited to go and try it out. All right. Harry Mudd writes, I like Chicago Med, exciting medical drama show. Yeah, I'm not into the Chicago shows except for Chicago PD. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Chicago Med or Chicago Fire aren't good. I just don't watch them. They don't interest me. But I do quite like Chicago PD. I don't know why I like that one and not the other ones. Harry Mudd writes, The Flash seems to be featuring two big bads this season, The Monitor and Godspeed. I wonder how it'll play out. Well, every season of The Flash has multiple villains, with one guy who's kind of like the big villain for the season. I don't think they were setting up Godspeed. I think they're setting up Godspeed for an arc, but not like the overall thing. So it'll be interesting to see how they play it out. But my suspicion is that it's going to come down, by the end of the day, by the time the season's done, it'll be very much like the other seasons, how they handle the villains. I don't know that, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, Leo Milmet writes, beautiful graphic, my good sir. Go, Ray. Oh, you're talking about the... it's funny. Again, I just tell Ray every day, this topic is going to be our main topic. Go make a thumbnail. And then Ray comes up with the thumbnails. And I told him, hey, our main topic's going to be that thing, Coppola says comic book movies are despicable. And then last night before bed, I checked the art folder where Ray puts in the art, and I saw this, and I giggled pretty hard. Ray does a great job with this stuff. He does a really, really good job. Okay. Leo Milman also writes, it's not how many comic book movies there are, it's how successful they are that's the problem. I think that's what Marty and Francis are trying to say. I disagree with them, but I believe the argument is that it takes money away from cinema. I feel like Joker is what they would want, though, for comic book films. Here's the problem, Leo, and I've talked about this before. I do believe there is a part of their heads that have this very erroneous way of thinking. That, man, if all these people weren't going to see these comic book movies, they'd be coming to see my movies. That's wrong. And I've made this comparison before, but let me make it again. That's like the pathetic loser dude, who often has been me, who has a crush on a girl, but the girl has like some great boyfriend. And the loser dude thinks, if she just wasn't dating him, she'd go out with me. No. Even if she wasn't dating that guy, she still wouldn't go out with you. But, or flip the genders around. Like the girl thinks the girl has her dream guy saying, oh, he's got a girlfriend. If he just wasn't going out with her, she's the problem. She's why he's not dating me. No. If he was going to date you, he'd be dating you. But he's not. That's what these guys remind me of. Like, and again, it's not the industry that makes comic book movies successful. It's the audience. It is the fans that decide what they want to go watch and what they want to go see. So they've got no leg to stand on here. They've got this fallacy of an idea that, if only Endgame wasn't there, then the studios would have put my movie, The Irishman, in theaters. No, they wouldn't have. Sorry, Marty. No distributor was going to pick up The Irishman because you wanted $160 million to make it. Then probably another $100 million to market it. And I'm sorry, but just look at Silence, which was a very good movie, by the way. Andrew Garfield, Liam Neeson, directed by Scorsese. It's a great movie. Nobody went to go see it. And I'm sorry, Marty, but this movie is not going to make that much money in the box office. And it's not because people are going to see Spider-Man. It's because they're not going to see that movie. And this whole idea of, if only she wasn't dating that guy, she'd go out with me. No. That's very sad thinking, and it's just not true. It's just not true. And besides, that's the audience decision, not the studios, and not the theaters. Anyway, D. Try writes, Guess we got to add Coppola to the Mysterio comparison, and feel free to put that on your social media. Haha. Yeah. I can't remember. Somebody mentioned that the other day about the comparison. It was very good between Martin Scorsese and Mysterio's logic way of thinking in Spider-Man. I can't remember the exact analogy, but I remember it being bang on. Calvin Severo Pano writes, "Hey John, isn't Scorsese a hypocrite saying Marvel is not cinema while doing a direct-to-streaming movie?" Again, no. That's completely misusing the term hypocrisy. That's not what hypocrisy means. That's not even remotely close to what it means. He wanted his film to be in cinema. At the end of the day, he did. But when Scorsese talks about cinema, he's not talking about a building. All right? Let's be clear about that. When Martin Scorsese is talking about comic movies, he's referring to whether they are cinema or not. He's not talking about a building. And so everybody, listen, it is one of the most tragically misused phrases right now. I know it feels cool and like it sounds like a harsh word when you say somebody's being a hypocrite, but use the term properly. That's not a proper application for it here. It's not a proper application for it here. I don't like what Scorsese's saying. I don't like what Coppola's saying. I think they show an extreme lack of understanding of the situation, and it shows an extreme lack of class. But is it hypocrisy? No, it's not hypocrisy. Lee Mallinson writes, Marvel fans and directors are just insecure. We've created a monster by overpraising average content for so long that now they can't take criticism. No, Lee, there's a difference. There's a big difference. Number one, that's fine if you think that like a lot of the comic book movies are just average content. That's fine. But you're not the arbiter of what is quality and what is not. Neither am I, neither is anybody else. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people love this stuff. And I'll be honest with you, a couple of years ago, a comic book movie was the best film of the year. Again, speaking just from my own subjective opinion, but a couple of years ago, Logan was the best movie of the year. There was no other movie as good as Logan a couple of years ago. I thought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, when you look at character development, emotional hooks, all that kind of stuff, I thought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was the third best movie of the year. It's not a matter of having an opinion. What fans don't like, it's not that fans are up in arms about the idea of, oh, you don't like what we like. That's not the issue. The issue is mounting a campaign and belittling something that the audience loves. And by extension, like I said, I read that Coppola said they're getting dangerously close to just flat out insulting the people who love them. Now, look, I've made the argument before, and I stand by it. Like, if I love Star Wars and you hate Star Wars, that's not an insult against me. If you say you're an idiot if you like Star Wars, now you're insulting me. Saying you hate Star Wars, that's not an insult to me. I love Star Wars, you hate it. That's nothing wrong. Coppola's statement is getting dangerously close to that, though. And they keep escalating this thing. And I think ultimately what's going to be revealed is this. Coppola and Scorsese are just mad that the fans love these other movies that aren't theirs. And that's unfortunate. And again, I have no problem with somebody saying they don't like something, but I think it's absolutely bush league and classless for a filmmaker, particularly filmmakers of Scorsese and Coppola's stature, forever great are their names, to unprovoked, for no reason, to come out and degrade and slam other creators' work. If you don't like it, just go, you know what? Not for me. I watched them. Don't work for me. A lot of people love them. That's great. I don't get it. I don't understand the appeal of them. They're just not for me. They don't work for me. I don't think they're very good, but that's just me. Say that. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're a paragon in the industry, and if you're Coppola, a paragon in the industry who hasn't done anything worth talking about in decades, to just come out without provocation, without rhyme or reason, to insult and shit talk a bunch of creators' work that the audience loves, and come out and say, those movies are despicable. They don't have anything in them that the fans are supposed to like. I don't get it. Why? What do any of you unwashed masses, you dregs? What is it you guys see in this movie? You guys saying this? Like, when you come across like that, it's not just a couple of filmmakers. This is the thing. There are people sidestepping the issue, saying, well, aren't Coppola and Scorsese allowed to give their opinions? Of course they're allowed to give their opinions. Of course they are. Nobody cares that they like or dislike comic book movies. There's a difference between that and mounting a campaign to attack the movies themselves, attack the genre as a whole, and ultimately, by extension, showing your bitterness towards the audience that are supporting these movies instead of supporting yours. And when you ratchet up the vitriol of moving from just saying, oh, they're not really cinema, to these things are invaders, we need theaters to start blocking some of them out, to now these movies are despicable, there's no value in these movies, blah, blah. And like, that's mounting a campaign. I don't have any problem with expressing that you don't like these movies. That's why when Scorsese made his first comment, I defended Scorsese. Which a lot of people got mad at me for, but I thought, hey, look, I don't necessarily agree with Scorsese, but what he's saying isn't really all that bad and really not all that far off from what a lot of us have said, right? And I defended him. But then he just keeps talking about it and keeps talking. And now it's not just giving an opinion. Now it's mounting a campaign. And I think it's beneath him. I really do. I think it's beneath him. And I think that's what people are getting most upset about. Anyway, Calvin writes, John, what are the chances of Toy Story 4 repeating Toy Story 3 and getting a Best Picture nomination? I don't think that good. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to fall over with shock if they announce that it gets a Best Picture nomination, but I'm not expecting it. I don't think it's quite as good as Toy Story 3. That's just my opinion. But I'm not expecting it to get a Best Picture nomination. Jay Bling writes, the full episode of... I don't know what UALA is. Oh, My Hero Academia live action anime fight is now online if you want to check it out. Awesome. I have no idea what UALA is, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm probably not going to check it out. I have no idea what it is, so I'm probably not going to check it out. But thank you for putting that on everybody else's radar, dude. Calvin also writes, John, I'm from Brazil. Here, every Game of Thrones season, HBO used to make lots of marketing, but zero for Watchmen, to a point that I just discovered it premiered yesterday from reading it here. Is HBO not promoting it just here, or is it in the USA too? I can't speak for anywhere else, Calvin, but I can say that I've seen a good amount of marketing for Watchmen. I've seen a good amount of marketing. Way more marketing than Netflix does for their shows. So, again, I can't speak for the experience you've had in Brazil. All I can say is, here stateside, I have seen a good amount of marketing. Not a huge amount of marketing for it, but I've seen a good amount of trailers and commercials and everything for Watchmen. So I think they've been advertising it pretty heavy, at least here. Harry Mudd writes, imagine if Gordon Ramsay was a movie critic. You know what's funny? I don't know what made them think this, but do you remember for a short time, he had another show. They gave him another show called Hotel Nightmares, where he would go around and like critique hotels. And I remember thinking, I love Gordon Ramsay, but what the hell does he know about hotels? Why would I care what he thinks about a hotel? And I think it only lasted one season. I could be wrong about that, but I think it only lasted one season. And then he went back to doing food stuff. So I'd probably feel the same way if he was doing movie reviews. But it would be kind of funny to listen to. Big Boy Trent writes, hey, John, hope you're having a blessed day. I am so far. Thank you for asking. What is or what was your most anticipated piece of media entertainment overall? That means video games, TV, and movies. Mine is Death Stranding. Well, if we're talking about right now, it's Star Wars Episode 9. That's what I am most anticipating. Even a little bit more than Mandalorian, but ask me that again in a couple of days. I like my excitement level for both Mandalorian and Episode 9 are like just going back and forth. So ask me again in a couple of days. But right now, the thing I am most excited for than anything else is Star Wars Episode 9. More than any television show, even more than Mandalorian at the moment. More than any video game, more than any movie. It's right now. It's all about Episode 9. What it's going to be after I see Episode 9, who knows? But for now, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is still, big boy, Star Wars Episode 9. This big one. I'm going to see the trailers tonight, and I'm sure that I'll be in a good mood when it plays because my Patriots will be well in the lead by that point. All right, Harry Mudd writes, Seen the Superboy live action show from 1988. You know, I think I saw an episode or two of it, but basically no, I haven't seen it. Don't feel a lot of urgency to go back and watch it either. All right, Colby Harris writes, so Rob, did you get that fat Thor from Hot Toys? He did not. We actually talked about that. He and I talked a little bit about whether he was going to get the Big Lebowski Thor, and he has not. I don't think he's going to either. Like, these things are expensive. He can only buy so many. He can't buy every single one. He's got a couple of others that he wants, so I don't think he's going to get that one. Brian Clark writes, so, Spider-Man, The Incredibles, Doctor Strange, and now The Batman. Does Giacchino get the record for most superhero themes? Anyway, I'm a big fan of his, and I can't wait to hear his theme for Battinson. I don't know. I mean, there have been an awful lot of... I'm not sure how many Silvestri did. I'm not quite sure how many... Zimmer did. I'm not sure how many Elfman did. I'm not sure how many. I don't know. It's a good question. But listen, Giacchino, there's so many conductors in this business that get constant work. And Michael Giacchino is one of those guys. It'll be, I don't know. But I will be interested to hear what his scores are going to be moving forward. That's for sure. All right. V. Rodriguez writes, The Dark Knight has been my favorite movie for 11 years. It was the first time I felt impacted by a film in theaters. Then I watched Joker, and I might have enjoyed it even more. I'm torn up inside, LOL. Yeah, I love the movie. It is a heavy film. It is a difficult film to watch multiple times. As my wife put it about Joker, who she loved the movie, but she said it's like watching somebody you know getting more and more addicted to drugs for 2 hours. And that's actually a pretty good comparison. That's a pretty good analogy. It's a brilliant film, but difficult to watch at the same time. It's just, they did some things in that again though, movies like Logan, like Joker, are showing that comic book films are transcending their traditional boundaries. And they're getting better and better and better. And I think Joker, while not the best comic book movie I've ever seen, is a great sign that these films are adapting more and more of just what classic cinema is into their genre as well. They are, as Robert Meyer Burnett puts it, transcending the genre. And they're getting better. And Joker's a great example of that, dude. I'm glad you liked it. All right, Harry Mudd writes, the picture of Scorsese reminds me of Rourke Jr. from Sin City. Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head which guy that was. Harry Mudd writes, or was that Minion Coppola? Yeah, Coppola's a minion in that picture. I just love what Ray did with that image, man. Rafael El Guapo Castillo writes, feel-good movie to put on people's radars, Muriel's Wedding, starring the phenomenal Toni Collette. You know what? I know the movie. I don't think I've ever seen it. I don't think I've ever seen that one, to be honest with you. Toni Collette, I mean, whereas some actresses talk about as they get older, they'll fade out of the limelight, right? Toni Collette is one of these actresses who, like, she's like a Streep in a way, that the older she gets, the better she gets, and the more recognizable she becomes, and the more beloved she becomes. She's so good. I still can't believe that she didn't get an Oscar nomination for Hereditary. I thought it was a lock. I actually thought she was a favorite, not guaranteed to win, but I thought she was a favorite to win the Academy Award that year, and she didn't even get nominated. I still can't believe that. Thanks for your recommendation, dude. ZCM Zombie writes, what version of The Watchmen do you prefer? To me, there is only one version. To me, basically speaking, only one version of any movie exists, and that is the theatrical release. And I don't love it, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was all right. But all the extra stuff like director's cuts and blah, 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 these are all, they're fine. Some of them are quite good, but they're not the movie. To me, the movie is the theatrical release of the movie. Garrett Couch writes, over under 30%, all movie websites crash tonight. Also, how long before the trailer airs should we be signed into Fandango? Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said earlier, Garrett, I've learned my lesson from the Endgame thing. I'm just going to walk to my AMC theater and just buy my ticket there at the concession stand. Or at the box office, I should say. I'm just going to walk there and get it myself. Now, there are two reasons I don't think we're going to get the massive service outages like we did during Endgame. Number one, I don't think we're going to get as many people tonight trying to buy tickets all at once as they did for Endgame. Number two, I think as a result of Endgame, I would hope that these movie ticket websites will know to reinforce their services even more. So even if we did get the same amount of people buying tickets for Star Wars as they did for Endgame, which I don't think they will, but even if they did, I still don't think we'd have as many crashes because I think they'll know they need to have reinforced the service, right? So I'm not expecting as big of problems this time around. There'll probably be some problems, but I'm not expecting nearly as big of problems for those two reasons. All right. Keith Lemereau writes, Last week, watching for about 2 months. I leave for boot camp. Oh, this is your last week watching for about 2 months. I leave for boot camp on the 29th. John, Robert, Mike Burnett, Chris, you guys are awesome. Thank you for all that you do and all the hard work. And I'll see you when you get back. Well, listen, dude, good on ya. I hope you have a tremendous experience there. Learn a lot. Get in shape, get trained, all the stuff that you're going and for your service, dude. That's awesome. So we will miss you while you're not here, but go forth, my friend, and may it be everything that you need it to be. So thank you again for that, dude, and thanks for sending your thoughts. All right, Goku's on DBZ writes, Terminator 1 is better than Terminator 2. I mean, look, Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 remind me a lot of the differences between the first Alien and Aliens. They are fundamentally different movies. Like, there's action in the first Terminator, but it's not an action film to me. There's like Aliens. There's action in the first Alien, but it's not an action film. Then you get into the second one. So they're while the same franchise, they're actually quite different films. And you're not alone. I know a couple people that like Terminator 1 more. Like, I personally think Terminator 2 is the better film. But I know a couple of friends of mine that like Terminator 1 as well. You're definitely not alone in that. All right. Sean516 writes, Today is my birthday too. I'm celebrating by watching the greatest movie ever made, Spider-Man 2. I'm telling you what, for a long time, I thought Spider-Man 2 was the best comic book movie ever made. For a long time, I thought it was the best comic book movie ever made. It's still in my top 10. It is a wonderful, wonderful film. So listen, dude, happy birthday to you. May you have a glorious day and a glorious year ahead of you, my friend. All right, Goku's on DBZ writes, why have we never gotten a horror-based... why have we never gotten a horror movie based on the Lovecraft character Cthulhu? Also, could we ever see another horror game movie like Silent Hill? Nobody thought the first one would make any money, or else the studio would have made it. It's just that simple. Will we ever get another horror game movie like Silent Hill? Oh, probably. They'll keep taking track. I didn't think Silent Hill was any good. I'll be honest with you. I know there are some people that are fans of that movie. I thought it was quite bad, to be honest with you, like all video game movies. I thought it was quite bad. But yeah, I've no doubt they'll keep taking cracks at it. They'll keep taking cracks at it. So I got very little doubt we'll see another one at some point. Count Drago writes, These directors sounding salty and out of touch. It's not that they sound out of touch. They just do sound more salty. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I think there is a part of this that is Martin Scorsese's seeding resentment that he couldn't get his movie, The Irishman, picked up by a theater, picked up by a studio to put into a proper theatrical run. But that isn't because he's just using comic book movies as a scapegoat. It's because his movie is going to be too damn expensive, and the studio knew it wouldn't get that many people out to watch it. They were going to lose money. And that has nothing to do with comic book movies. Comic book movies aren't why nobody went to go see Silence. You know? So, yeah. I don't think out of touch, but I do think salty. Goku writes, all-time favorite Sith character, Darth Plagueis. Well, I mean, yeah, if you want to go into the novels and stuff like that, when people want to talk to me about favorite characters, I tend to stick with what actually made it to the screen. And we've never seen Darth Plagueis on screen. We've heard him mentioned, but we've never seen him on screen. So my favorite Sith character, well, it's got to be Vader. Got to be Vader. Right? It's got to be Vader. I mean, my wife will differ with me because she'll say it's Palpatine, but for me, it's Vader. All right, Carlos Sosa writes, Hey, John and Rob, I got my carbonized Sith Trooper figure from Amazon, and it's amazing. Star Wars trailer today, and buying my tickets after are you? Yes. Definitely going to pick up I'll probably buy about a dozen tickets for opening night. When the tickets go on sale, just walk over to the AMC. I'll go 12 tickets, please, and get them just as quick as I can. And and listen, the Sith Trooper thing looks badass, dude. The Sith Trooper thing looks pretty badass. I'm glad you got your hands on it, and I am excited for the trailer tonight. Hope it lives up to the hype. Harry Mudd writes, did you know that the original C-3PO suit was so noisy Anthony Daniels had to reread his likes in post? Probably lines in post. Well, I have a feeling he would have had to have reread his lines in post. It's called doing ADR, right? And it's a standard thing. Even actors who don't have masks on will often go into the studio and reread their dialogue to be matched up and synced with their video. I've got to imagine no matter what, they were going to have to do that with C-3PO because he was behind the mask and he was not going to sound anywhere near as clear as whatever. So I got a feeling that was going to be the case anyway. Just like they had to do it for Vader, and they always knew they were going to have to do it for Vader. Den of Nerds writes, how many younglings do I have to kill to get on an episode of Light Side, Dark Side with you and Harloff? Well, I don't think we're going to be taking guests. And if we do, there'll probably just be people we know. That's always been my thing too. Like even on this, like I generally don't bring guests onto my show. I get people that I know and make them regulars like Rob and Aaron. But I just don't bring in random guests. And when I need one, like I'll go to somebody I know, right? Like Greg, I'll go to Greg if I really need one. But that's generally how I've always done things. So, but I don't expect you're going to see a lot of guests with us. I really don't. And if you do, it'll be already be somebody you know from us because it's somebody you already know pretty tight. But I'm very excited to get that show started. Just a couple of weeks away now, we'll be getting that thing started, and I'm very, very stoked for it. Thanks for bringing it up, though, dude. I appreciate that. All right. Phoenix Clouden writes, how bad should we feel for Clive Owen? First Valerian, now this. Dude can't catch a break. I mean, I think he's one of the finer actors in the business. This is the Children of Men, dude. This guy's awesome. I don't know why he's not getting better roles. I mean, if I'm a producer and I found out Clive Owen wants to be in my movie, I'm finding a role for him, you know? I just don't get it. I really don't. All right, Ronnie Yacombe writes, are the GOAT directors just starting to hate on these Marvel blockbusters because they're making tons and tons of money? Forgive my ignorance. Basically, yeah, I believe there's a lot of sour grapes in here. That Martin Scorsese, who is one of the greatest of all times, and he knows he's one of the greatest of all time, and there's nothing wrong with that, is getting told no by some studios, maybe for the first time ever, and he's looking for a scapegoat, and he sees all these audiences going out to see these comic book movies that he doesn't make, and he's this. I just believe there's resentment there. I believe a lot of this is rooted in resentment. I do, but hey, whatever. Petty Faramarzi writes in, Will Smith needs to pick better scripts. Well, that's the funny thing. He often does. I mean, he's picked some really good movies to be in. And for whatever reason, Gemini Man just got... And look, not only that, but you had a great director. Not a good director, a great director. And it just didn't come together. Don't know why. Don't know how. But yeah, I mean, it was a bad script. I mean, you don't even have to be well-versed in film to know that was a bad script. So I don't know, maybe he just thought the director being there was going to salvage all that. It was an interesting idea. He got to play in an action film where it's him fighting a younger version of himself. There could have been a lot of that appealed to him, but yeah, it's just, and again, I don't blame any of the failures of the movie on Will Smith. He did as good as you could do, but it is unfortunate the way that kind of turned out. All right, Darth Sidious writes, hey, John, Rob, and Chris, have you ever heard of the anime called Sword Art Online? I've never heard of it. I'm sure Chris has. But I have not heard of it myself, unfortunately. Tall Dude 3231 writes, hey, John, going on a Disneyland date tomorrow with a girl I really like. Any recommendations from Dr. Love Campea? Plus, she is a big Disney fan like me. My big recommendation, if you're going there for a date, there's a restaurant at Disneyland that's a little expensive, but it's a fabulous atmosphere, especially for a date. And it's really good food. It's called Blue Bayou. And if you've ever been on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, it's the restaurant that the Pirates of the Caribbean ride goes through. So you'll actually be sitting there in the restaurant in this swamp kind of atmosphere with crickets and dim light, and you'll see people on their boats going by. It's a really good restaurant. The food is terrific. It's not super expensive, but it's a little expensive. But it's great atmosphere. If you're going there for a date, I highly recommend that for a date. All right, last question of the day, guys, and then we're going to have to wrap it up because we've already gone 2.5 hours, and I got some other things I got to do. Vice 1980s writes, now 2 senile old men escape the home. Again, look, I don't think this has anything to do with being senile old men or blah, blah, blah. I don't think it has anything to do with being out of touch. I don't think it has anything to do with hypocrisy. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that there's a much more basic human reason for this, and that's bitterness. I think you've got a couple of guys now that are bitter that these movies are getting the attention that theirs don't, and that these movies are making a lot more money than theirs did. And that the audience, right now at least, everything goes in cycles. So for right now, audiences seem to really like going to these movies instead of their kinds of movies. And I think that's creating some deep-seated resentment. Compounded with the idea of that false idea I talked about, that they think, if only that girl wasn't dating that guy, she'd go out with me. No, that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works, but I think deep down they've got that sense. There's a sense that if it wasn't for all these comic book movies, people would be coming out in droves to see my movies. No, that's not how it works. It's a misconception. All right, let me fly through a couple more here. Screen Talk writes, love Maleficent 2. Jolie was in it enough for me. Hey, listen, that's beautiful. I'm glad you liked it. I wish I liked it more. I did think it was an improvement over the first one, but I'm going to differ with you on that a little bit, that I really did feel it needed more Jolie, personally. But hey, man, you saw it and liked it more than I did, and that's awesome. All right, Jeff, I don't know how to pronounce Ning. Anyway, writes, Coppola and Scorsese turned Roger Ebert into a saint. I loved Roger Ebert. That's just me. Scorsese and Coppola, Enzo Ferrari of film. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. Hideaway Killer writes, watch 13 Ghosts this weekend. I don't know why I love it. You? Which one was 13 Ghosts again? I'm thinking of one, but I'm thinking of the wrong movie. Hold on a second. Which one was 13 Ghosts again? You know what? I'm looking at a poster for it now, and I can't. You know what? I don't know if I saw it. If this is the 2001 film, I'm not even sure that I saw it. So yeah, so that's what I think about it. I'm not even sure that I saw it. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. Actually, how many more do we have to go? You know what? There's only a few more to go. We'll stretch it out. If you guys are watching live right now, don't send any more super chats. I'm going to finish off with the ones we've got. We're going a little bit over time. My throat's almost completely dead, but we're going to push through it here. Edward Sanchez Productions writes, I met Anthony Daniels, a.k.a. C-3PO, at Dallas Fan Days this past Sunday, and he is so awesome. Dude, there is nobody connected with it. Sometimes he talks too much, but there is nobody connected with the Star Wars universe that loves being connected with the Star Wars universe as much as Anthony Daniels, and it always shows, which is great. He's got a wonderful kind of enthusiasm. Let's see. Eric Watson writes, thoughts on Jeremy Renner news? Will he keep Hawkeye? I don't know what news we're talking about. I know there was talk about his ex-wife was making allegations, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I doubt. I mean, there's some headlines right now saying, first of all, we knew Jeremy Renner was going to be done as Hawkeye after the Hawkeye series. They've made that clear, that Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye was going to be done after the Hawkeye series. These rumors being reported right now, none of them by super reliable sources, by the way. None of them by reliable sources. Let's put it this way. The story's coming from We Got This Covered. Never, wonderful, entertaining site to read with editorial thoughts, all that kind of stuff, but never take any of their breaking news. Never believe any of their breaking news. About one every 20 times, it'll be real, and that's great, but never take anything from there. I don't buy that at all, particularly because they already it was the worst kept secret in the business that Renner was going to be done after the Hawkeye series. Anyway, he's passing on the Hawkeye mantle in that show. So I don't believe any of that stuff at all. Chris Hamilton writes, barbecue, huh? How do you like your ribs? I don't remember what that's from, actually. It sounds familiar. I don't remember off the top of my head. Timbula the Spider Monkey writes, no one gets anything out of watching the same movie over again, says the man whose last theatrical release is a recut of a film he put out 40 years ago. Not a bad observation, Timbula. not a bad observation. That's actually pretty on the nose. That's maybe not the smartest thing for him to have said. Maybe not that. You're right. It's a good analogy there. Patrick Conway writes, being 20, Scorsese's latest comments criticizing young people for liking Marvel pisses me off. Reminds me of my maths teachers who I told to F himself. Yeah, it's never a good thing when a filmmaker is trying to tell you what you should like. It's never a good idea for a filmmaker to try to tell the audience what they should and what they should not like. Never a good move. It's never a good look, Patrick. It's never a good look. All right, B.W. Rosa writes, they want movies to be like Godfather or Outsiders. And listen, there are movies that come out with stuff like that, but the audience decides what they want to see, and they're just going to have to figure that out. Harry Mudd writes, Crank and Crank 2 are movies that cause you to burst your gut laughing. I love the Crank films. Love the Crank films. Now, look, I am friends with Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, the writers and directors of Crank and Crank 2. But I loved the first Crank before I met Mark and Brian. It was during my coverage of the first Crank that I wrangled an interview with Mark and Brian, because we have a mutual friend that was out of Lionsgate, and I was doing some stuff with Lionsgate, but whatever. And it was after I fell in love with Crank that I met those guys. And then it was through those guys that I met Milo. And it was through the three of them, because of an event, because of them. It's because of Mark, Brian, and Milo that I met my wife, Ann. It's through those three that I met my wife. So I'm always a big thing of that, but I was already a fan of Crank before that. I love those movies, man. Absolutely love those movies. I hope they decide to do a third one sometime. Christopher James writes, were you a good Canadian kid and voted? I am not talking about the Canadian election in any way, shape, or form. I'm not talking about the Canadian election. James Marquez writes, AMC listing shows Rise of Skywalker runtime is 2 hours and 35 minutes. Too long or too short? Love your show. We won't know if it's too long or too short until we see the movie. Some movies are far too long at 2 hours. Some movies are far too short at 2.5 hours. There's no such thing as the right runtime for a movie before you see it. We'll see the movie, and then we will know if this movie needed to be a bit longer or needed to be a bit shorter. You know, a lot of times I feel like movies needed to be shorter, but I saw Maleficent, and I felt like that movie needed to be about 15, 20 minutes longer. So there's no telling one way or the other until we see it. Josh's Bizarre Adventure writes, keep one, lose one, Joker or Black Swan? I like Black Swan very much, but I'll keep Joker. I mean, I hate to lose Black Swan. I love that movie, but I would keep Joker. Let's see. K Major writes, hey, John, 3 awesome things happened yesterday, but I missed the second. 1, I saw Joker, and it was beautiful. 2, they showed the frickin' new Star Wars trailer. Really? Where'd they show that? But I missed it by 2 flippin' minutes. It was the first trailer. Why me? 3, showtime was 5:10. Movie started at 5:30. Not bad. 20 minutes I can work with. They showed the new trailer in a theater? That had to have been by mistake. Or like you, or I see you say it was the first trailer that. Oh, okay, so it was the trailer that they played from Star Wars Celebration. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I got you confused me there for a second, K Major. I got a little bit confused. 20 minutes isn't bad, but it's not good either. You know, you tell me a movie starts at 5, you start that movie at 5. Like something's got to be done. Anyway, Avery Zavala, final question of the day. Avery Zavala writes in, Immortals 2011, great Cavill, terrible Rourke. Yeah, and apparently, it's kind of the movie that Mickey Rourke was kind of in the middle of a resurgence. His resurgence had already started, but that kind of killed it. I remember the producers of Immortals talked about what a nightmare Mickey Rourke was to work with, that he was terrible to work with. And this was at Comic-Con. They were on stage talking about it and talking about just how absolutely diva-ish and terrible Mickey Rourke was to work with. But at the same time, how great Henry Cavill was to work with. By the way, Luke Evans is in that movie too, as Zeus. And that's the movie that I really became a big fan of Luke Evans. I love Luke Evans as an actor. And that was the movie that made me get him. So I enjoyed Immortals. It's not a great movie, but I did enjoy it, mostly because of like Luke Evans, Henry Cavill. But Mickey Rourke, you could tell he was just there for the paycheck. He didn't care about that movie. You could tell watching his performance, he did not care about it at all. And then you hear the stories from the producers. It's really, really too bad. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being part of the show, guys. And listen, I'll mention something that I put on my social media the other day. You know, there's a rolling 30 that just shows you in the past 30 days, this is how much traffic your site has, right? So for the past 30 days, you've had this much traffic. In the past 30 days, you've had this much traffic. I'm sure, like, traffic goes up and down all the time, and it's going to go down, it's going to go up. But a couple of days ago, the rolling 30 for the John Campea YouTube channel, for the first time ever, hit 5 million. We had 5 million views of our videos in the previous 30 days. Now that is tiny, tiny, tiny compared to a lot of YouTube channels. I've got buddies of mine who get 5 million views in a weekend. So that is tiny, tiny, tiny compared to a lot of YouTube channels. Totally tiny. But it's the first time it's ever happened for us here. And I just wanted to say thank you to all you guys who constantly support the show by being here, by watching the videos, by jumping in, having discussions, sending in super chats, being Patreon supporters, all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys all so much for that little milestone. And here, a couple of other milestones we're getting close to, guys. I think within the next couple of months, we're going to hit 200,000 subscribers. More importantly, in the next couple of months, we are going to hit 100 million views for the John Campea YouTube channel overall. That's not something I ever thought we would do, is hit 100 million views. But I think I will let you guys know details, but we've decided we're going to have a live event party and celebration for hitting 100 million views. I don't know exactly when it's going to be yet. We'll wait till we get a little bit closer. But for any of you who live in and around the LA area, keep your eyes open because we are going to be in the next couple of months planning a big live party event where we're going to invite people to come down and be a part of it. But anyway, so I just want to say an extra special thank you to all you guys for that. Tonight's the night, guys. Star Wars trailer. The magnificence of the Patriots shedding its glory on the new Star Wars page. The new Star Wars trailer. I was so excited about that. Hey, guys, for those of you who are members of the Discord, I'm not going to be in there today to do the post-show chat. I got a bunch of things that I can't talk about right now, but I got a bunch of things that are going to be taking up my day today. I'll let you guys more details on that later. But by all means, for those of you who are members, for Patreon supporters, members of the Discord, by all means, go on over there, have a post-show chat, talk amongst yourselves. I will be jumping in there to join you guys tomorrow, so I will see you guys then. All right, guys, that will do it for me for this installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. It means a hell of a lot. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.